Okay, on to this week's Street Talk. I thought it was all right this week. You gave some bangings this week, didn't you? You said that I think you gave one. Yeah, one. Yeah, you said that Wednesdays was banging. I think that.
That's a fire.
I know, but I thought that Tuesdays was still the highlight of the week for me because there was location shoot. I don't think I gave any of them banging this week on our Street Talk shorts, but I was pleasantly surprised, very, very pleasantly surprised by Tuesday's episode after it's just the continued not-so-goodness that Monday's episode brought us. But yeah, I enjoyed Wednesdays as well. Didn't know there was a fire happening. Nice bit of drama. We'll talk about that in a bit. We're going to start off with the Paul the Plug storyline, which is going to include that lovely camping trip. And there's also a bit of the brown ale stuff in there as well, because I couldn't be bothered to separate it. We'll find out what's been going on with Joseph. We'll then be following up with a Splat the Rat story. This is Liam and Splat and Dylan. No. He's nearly getting splattered. I don't know. We'll see what the kids have been up to. In the second one, bailiffs at the Baileys. I guess that writes itself for 1 week as a storyline title, doesn't it? I quite like this one. Size of souse. Yeah?
Size of souse.
Size of souse.
Size of souse.
Souse.
Size of souse.
Exactly. It's even got a little song.
That is a word. Watch out, size of souse.
That does mean drunkard, doesn't it? If you're a souse.
So.
Yeah, size of souse.
Yeah.
I almost had another one. You know that for the Lauren story, when I couldn't think of anything specific to the story, I called it Lauren Affairs because it sounds like foreign.
It does sound
and it just
like it, yeah.
And it just means Lauren things. I got one for just generic Simon story, right?
What?
Size matters.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? Size matters. But I'm going to leave that until there's a more generic Simon storyline. But, he gets a storyline once in a blue moon. Next up, speaking of that, Oh Baby is going to be my storyline title for Tommy O.
Ugh.
Yeah? And they haven't started the affair yet, but
tall.
We know it's coming. Too tall. Yeah. He is, he's massive. Massive Matt Milburn, they call him. He's
Massive Matt Milburn.
That's the actor's name. Yeah.
Do you think they do?
Definitely. He was... you must have been able to duck to get under that door frame. Or maybe Kate Ford is just very wee. I don't know. But, there's not much to say about.
He doesn't need a ladder, does he?
Yeah, you said that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Expert decorator. That stain
what
on
the hell is
Stephen Tracy's ceiling. He just needs to reach up, maybe stand on his tiptoes. All sorted.
I've never been in a position to be able to pay somebody to decorate anything that belongs to me. But £800... for a bedroom seems rather extortionate.
I would have no idea how much that is.
And she said the daily rate's £200, right? And that's by far and away the biggest expense there. So how long is he taking to do this bedroom?
I think it's quite reasonable. We had to have a surveyor around our house this week, and he was here for 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Okay.
Over £400 that cost.
Yeah, but listen, that's different though, because you're not paying him for the time that he's here. You're paying him for his expertise in being able to spend 20 minutes to go, this is what's wrong with your house.
And email us the report, honestly,
well,
it's
maybe
terrible.
Got it for free then.
I've not paid him yet. So the brown ales and the Paul the Plug storyline we will get on with first. So this is kind of, we saw, was Linda in it on Monday? I can't remember. Let me refresh everybody's memories, including mine.
I want to quickly say to all of the really annoyed house decorators now that I've upset with my comments. I'm sure you might be worth £800. Maybe you're going to paint a mural or something, but I wouldn't say it was worth £800 to somebody to do it for me.
I don't know.
It's just a pain in the bum. It's not like it's like beyond anybody's ability to paint a room.
We painted this room in which we're sitting now, and I'm quite pleased with it. But it was a big pain in the bum to do this.
It was a bit. It took us a lot longer than I thought. But it didn't take us more than one day.
Like our friend Rachel's moved. No, Lorraine's moved into a big house recently, hasn't she? And
a mansion, I would call it.
It's fairly palatial, and they're painting all their own house. How do you have the time to do that? I suppose they're not teachers, are they?
Or
podcasters, yeah. Right, so Gemma's acting all a bit normal in front of the kids on Monday's episode. Chesney just wants to talk to her.
Okay,
they're not particularly in each other's good books at the moment.
Say she's put on a front, isn't she?
Yeah.
But she and Chesney are. He's sleeping on the sofa
because he didn't believe Joseph when he had complained about his symptoms of Lyme's.
Or Gemma.
Hmm?
He didn't believe Gemma or Joseph, and that's why she's annoyed.
Like I think I said last week on the podcast, I would cut him a little bit of a slack. If medical professionals... I know I shouldn't always trust medical professionals. They're
not on this show.
Often right. Definitely not on this show. And I know that my mum had certain issues with being told that she didn't have something that she had back in the day.
She would not be dead.
But no, she might.
No, I'm going to say.
You're going to blame. I'm going to name and shame that. No, I'm not.
Dr.
I know.
Arseface.
Yes, well. Anyway, Gemma. This was a very long time ago. Gemma is not happy to.
Oh, right, yeah.
No,
it doesn't count.
No, it does. I'm sorry. No, I'm very mad at that doctor who misdiagnosed my mum.
Don't need to talk. Why are you gone into?
I didn't mean it to turn into a conversation. But anyway. Sorry.
What a depressing start. How's your weekend, everyone?
Linda comes into the house and she's offering to babysit, and Gemma's like, she hates her as well just as much, because Linda was stirring the pot massively last week, saying, "Oh, Chesney, you should drop Gemma, get rid of her. She's going cuckoo." So she says, "Right, Chesney, you go off to the hospital. You need to get things right with your son, because he don't want to see you right now." So he heads off to the hospital. First of many hospital scenes this week. And Joseph's like, "Oh, I just can't stop thinking about how many times I told you I felt poorly." And Ches is like, "Oh, son, I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Sorry? God.
I've got lots of people, lots of kids in this house telling me various things. They have a nice little reunion scene, don't they? He loves him. They have a little cry together. Joseph says he loves him too, and they hug."
And Chessie's like, "Look, get over it. At least you're not dying."
I think it was quite nicely done. I mean, it didn't... I'm not going to say that I was brought to tears by this scene, but I know some people were. I've seen some people complimenting this. Yeah,
I don't remember being particularly moved by this, but I mean, it is really sad when you're a kid. You're so powerless.
I wish that I could. I wish that I could feel some things sometimes that other people feel.
I think it's probably better that you don't.
I cry at E.T. and Forrest Gump. So there's something at least. Yeah. Anyway, so Bernie, meanwhile, is over visiting Paul, and she's kind of on the phone to somebody when she comes in, and she's a bit cagey about it.
Kind of, or is she?
She is quite cagey, yes. She says it's Dev, and Paul doesn't believe her. Moses is there. Bernie says, "You're not needed." Bogs off. I can't remember who
I feel really sorry for Moses all the way through this.
Why?
What, is this... So this is the... Paul and
this is Paul and Joseph,
because everyone keeps every time he turns up, people are like, "Oh, you're either not needed, or you should have been here half an hour ago, and now Paul's drowned in the bathtub because you didn't get him out."
Or, "You will stay here and have dinner with us. You're not allowed to go home because we will force you to socialise with us."
That's sexual harassment.
What's your kind of early impressions of Moses? He feels like he's not really got much of a personality yet, but I kind of can't help but like him.
I like him, but
I'm gunning for not in a good way. I'm championing Moses. I think he could have the potential to be a nice character, but he also, to me, is coming across as, I'm a temporary character. What do you?
I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but he really feels like a bit of a Darian to me, insofar as he is like the symbol of some kind of societal issue, who will be discarded once we've been taught about the plight of social care workers.
And
all the extra little bits that make us feel particularly sorry for him. You know, the implication that he's been chased out of his home country because he's gay, and that there's a lot of issues in one character who really doesn't have a lot to say apart from "sorry I'm late" or I've got to go.
It feels like he's got so much
he seems
potential.
Really nice.
He does seem really, really nice. But is he right for Todd? I don't. I'd really like Todd to settle down with somebody. I mean, obviously the likelihood, I'm gonna say, is once Paul is no longer with us, Billy and Todd will eventually find each other again. I think it's fairly inevitable, even if it's just a brief dalliance. I don't know, but I really do like Todd. He's not nasty, is he? He's been sneaky and devious, and when he first came into the show, back in the early 2000s, he was lovely, and he didn't have a nasty bone in his body, but they made him...
beaten up in London.
And he came back...
Just like Shona got shot in a box and that dog got run over by 7 milk.
Exactly like that. And he came back being a bit nasty, didn't he? But then he got recast, and I've never really felt that same level of manipulativeness from Gareth Pierce Todd, although we've seen it a bit. But in any case, I digress. I would like to see him, because he's been a character...
See him what?
Settle down.
Okay.
with somebody nice, because we've known this character for 20 years and he's never had a proper stable relationship. And I get the idea that he'd like one. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know whether he'd be very good in one.
No.
But maybe that's in his youth.
He'd eat Moses alive.
This is the thing. I mean, as much as I say, I hope that he and Moses can make a go of it, I'm not completely convinced that they're right for each other. Moses seems as pure as the driven snow, doesn't he? And Todd, he's a bit, he's still a bit of a wrong un, but not really. I think eating him alive is a good way of putting it. But you never know. Maybe Moses could work his magic on Todd and they can make. I don't know.
Tame the beast.
I'd like to see something, but it does feel like they're just going to be having dinner together for a bit, and then something's going to happen with the assisted dying, or Paul's just going to die himself, or something, or Billy's going to make a pass at Moses. That probably won't happen, and then it's going to be over. But if you'd say who in Corrie would you like to see paired up with someone, I do think it's Todd's time, because I've got a soft spot for him because he's been with us for so many years. I know he had a bit of a break, but anyway, I digress again on this episode that I promised was going to be a shorter one. Weird. This is one of the reasons why we hated Monday so much. There were some odd bits in it, and the next scene in this story with Dev in the pub.
This did not work.
Everyone's saying, "How's Bernie doing now she's out of prison?" And he starts getting really off about stop mentioning that she's been in prison. I don't really get what was up with him. And then he does this thing where he sits in the booth, turns round away from everyone and just is like... and everyone's staring at him, and it was awkward. And we were watching it go, what's he doing?
Yeah, Ed's there, and...
he's sitting with Ed, isn't he?
He sits with Ed, and he says, the shame of it, and then...
He said, it's real, the shame is real.
But it doesn't.
It really was a flub and a flop.
I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but it felt like maybe an improvisation that wasn't.
I don't
a
know,
good idea.
because you know that we love Dev, we love comedy Dev, and I know not everybody does, but we like him for his kind of over the top silly zaniness.
Well, he's
and that wasn't it. It was just kind of retreating into his shell.
It's no secret, because Jack P. Shepherd's mentioned this on the quiz, the yearly quiz, that Jimmy Harkison does sometimes throw the script out the window and says what he wants. So maybe that's what happened
was
here.
that.
But
maybe it was a misfenestration in this case. Mm-hmm. Defenestration, sorry.
A misfenestration.
Mr. Harkison. I put it to thee. So Gemma's in the flat later telling Paul and Bernie, look, I'm just going to have to stick with Chesney because I can't afford not to. That's kind of sucky to have to come to that conclusion. But I'm kind of feeling at the moment that although I'm also have got some sympathy for Chesney, I do think that Gemma is within all of her rights to be really peed off at him. But I think for her to come around at this instance and say, I think it's over, if only I could afford it, I'd have dumped him, I think that's going too far. Everybody makes mistakes. Yes, this was a big one, but I don't think that she should, or actually would, throw her not even 12-month-old marriage away for this. What do you think?
It did feel a bit overly dramatic and a bit hyperbolic for her to be like...
It's the classic soap kind of, I'll never speak to you again sort of thing. I think she's going to calm down. I mean, I would happily see Henry come back onto the street and whisk Gemma away, but in this case, I think that she will calm down and realise possibly it was a bit of a overreaction, maybe? I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. I probably am.
That's fine.
Todd, meanwhile, is a bit worried because he's seeing Billy out on the street, leaving Paul alone up in the flat, and he's like, what? But Paul, he can't be left alone again. What if he bumps himself off? Billy's like, no, we're gonna do it together when the time comes. Don't worry about this.
Is this a double suicide?
It sounds like it, does it? Billy's the one that's going to help Paul, according to their plan.
Now Todd knows this. He didn't know this before.
No, he did know. Yeah, he knew that that this is how Paul wanted to end it, but now he knows that Billy's the one that's going to be doing it. So anyway, Billy's like, no, it's fine, and off he goes. And then Todd bumps into Moses coming out of the cafe, and they agree to spend the day together, and it's a little bit, ooh, what should we get together? Ooh, wouldn't that be nice? Kind of sweet, I guess. Bernie, meanwhile, is set to learning... what does this say?
Cleaning. Imagine.
Yes, so this is usually you that looks at my notes and go, what on earth does this say? This is me.
How can you have a go at me when you don't even know yourself what you wrote?
Usually I tried to read ahead a little bit, but this time I didn't.
And if I call it out, you get really upset. But usually it's funny. Nobody thinks bad of you because it changes. It's just
Bernie
funny.
sets to cleaning in the house, and Paul says, oh yeah, this is when she tries to... She almost finds the drugs, doesn't she? She's rummaging around the cereal cupboard, and the death drugs are just there behind the Cocoa Pops or whatever brand of Weatherfield cereal Mike Gleason has designed recently.
I don't want to tell anyone how to live their lives, right? That's not me. You guys know. I don't judge. I don't try to give out advice where it's not needed.
No.
But I would tell you to not put death drugs in your cereal cupboard.
Well, there is I know she's not a child anymore, but does Summer not go rooting around in that cupboard?
Yeah,
I'd have thought that she likes a bowl of Rice Krispies every morning.
I've found this cool syrup. I put it all over my cornflakes.
Although, I mean, she's not allowed the sugary the cereals, of course, is she? What with the diabetes and all?
Well, she probably also can't get the child caps off.
Anyway, yeah, probably for the best that there was a near miss, and maybe they get to reevaluate their hiding place.
But that does raise a question: would you put an illegal stash of morphine? No, was it benzos?
Benzos.
Do illegal drugs come in bottles with childproof caps?
Probably. Although I don't know. I suppose they're not.
Don't know, do we?
They're not NHS.
Never had any.
No.
But I would hope if you're an ethical drug dealer, perhaps you might think a bit more carefully.
Yeah.
About. How
I thought you were going to say this does raise the question.
Yeah.
What does Summer have for breakfast?
What does she have? I bet she has.
She's still on the energy drinks.
I bet she has wholemeal toast with margarine on it, which is the most soulless breakfast in the universe.
I think she's... what's that horrible stuff that we got? The little...
Oh, yeah.
The little brown...
The little pellets that are like...
What are they called? We got them. They were horrible.
Grape nuts.
Grape nuts. I bet Summer has grape nuts.
But we talked about grape nuts last time. Somebody did write in. Was it Pat? And said that they like grape nuts.
I don't remember. Each to his own. But yeah, in my head now, Summer's eating a grape nut. So don't hold your drugs near the grape nuts.
What would you rather have for breakfast? Grape nuts or death drugs? I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
I don't, there's enough sugar on. The death drugs would be fine. Helps the medicine go down, Mary Poppins says. Anyway, so Paul's like, oh my gosh, she's going to find the drugs. Go and clean the bedroom first, ma'am. And then he's like texting help to somebody, which turns out to be Paul, who's getting his lunch date with Moses interrupted.
No, hang on, Todd.
Todd, so he is Paul. Yeah. Todd's having his lunch date with Moses.
It's like I'm texting.
That wasn't even in the notes. It says what exactly it was here. Anyway, so Todd has to run off, and it's very sad. I mean, he could have come back, to be fair, but
they're having a lovely speed dial meal, and then.
Special occasion speed dial.
And he's really sad because they were enjoying it and now Moses has got to probably pay.
Yeah. No, I thought you left him the money.
It's a joke.
Chesney is... we'll go back to one storyline in a minute. He's getting home from the hospital. Gemma is not particularly impressed to hear that he's been making up with Joseph because I think that she's... I don't know, she's got a bee in a bonnet about him, hasn't she? Linda comes in, says, do you want some quinoa?
No,
quinoa.
Michael.
I even spelt it right because she said quinoa and I thought, I know how to spell that. And I spelt it correctly and I've forgotten. Oh my gosh. Gemma's just basically very, very off with Linda and Chesney.
If you're a Coronation Street writer and you want everyone to take against your this character, you just write that they're having quinoa.
Quinoa and grape nuts. The Feast of Kings.
I'll get your bowels going, won't it?
Yeah.
Or does it stop you up?
I don't know.
I'm au fait with it.
I would have thought grape nuts that'd make you go.
Maybe
that's what Gemma had been having at the camper van on Tuesday.
Good in combo because you have one and then the other one stops.
Cancels out, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, Linda gets Chesney alone later and says, look, I'm sorry for everything that I did here. I'm sorry for causing all this drama. He's like, yes, you have. You made things 10 times worse than it needed to be. Now Gemma hates me.
Oh, that's right, Chesney.
There's nothing wrong with me. I'm usually the perfect specimen of a man and husband.
Well, he's such a little...
So Linda says, look, things will sort themselves out in time. And that's...
Linda, don't you let him tell you that. He's brought this all on himself.
He did start it,
He told Linda, this is the situation.
No, Linda was making things a lot worse. Yes, he might have been the one to put the idea in her head, but you don't get told that and then immediately go and looking for divorce lawyers. Gemma is her daughter-in-law. She's still family.
She's not.
Daughter-ish-in-law.
She's not.
Stepson,
Chesney's
daughter.
nothing to do with Linda.
Well, then why does she care so much then? Keep your big nose out of it.
She's retired and she lives in Portugal and nothing happens.
Nothing to spend all her oodles of cash on this time of year.
They don't have Portuguese soaps. I know that for a fact. Otherwise she'd be in those, meddling around there.
She'd be a Portuguese tart if she was in a Portuguese soap.
No.
Portuguese tart with a heart.
She's not a tart.
No, I know.
She's got quinoa.
Don't tarts eat quinoa.
What?
Don't tarts eat quinoa?
No.
Okay.
It's illegal.
So anyway, Todd gets back to the flat. Bernie's in the kitchen, but luckily she gets a phone call and disappears off to Bog to go and take it. Which gives Todd the chance to grab the pills, hide them away. And then Bernie goes off again. And it turns out that she's bought herself a camper van. So this is who she's been on the phone to.
She hasn't bought it, she's borrowing it.
She's borrowing a camper van so that she can take her and Apollo and Gemini off on a lovely pre-death trip.
You can't do post-death trips.
You can, that's what, old Teddy had one with Audrey all up to the Lake District, didn't he?
Oh, that's true.
And we also, the end of the Gemma and Chesney story so far is that she's admitted that he is a good dad, but he's still sleeping on the sofa tonight.
Is he though? Is he?
Yeah, what about Izzy? She still hasn't had a scene with Linda. Still hasn't had a scene between Izzy and Linda.
She's like, Mum, my fridge has gone on the blink. Linda's like, that's a shame.
Gemma is miffed that Linda has come in and told Chesney that he needs to divorce her, but at least Linda's talking about Gemma. Linda, she's forgotten that her daughter exists.
I know.
Literally.
It doesn't make any sense, does it?
I really, really do not comprehend how there couldn't have been at least one scene, because Izzy's been in it this week as well.
I know.
It must be.
I reckon there's
massive behind the scenes spat between Shirley Houston and her.
I reckon something went down. Maybe at Christmas. Who knows?
You reckon?
Yeah, probably maybe a fight at the Corrie party, Christmas party.
Yeah.
And who knows who won? I wouldn't like to say.
Right. So Tuesday. This was my episode of the week.
You wrote this one, did you?
Yeah. Thank you. You can send me the check in the post later. This was. I didn't know there was going to be the fire on Wednesday, and I did not know that we were going to be treated to a lovely little road trip. And yes, it kind of went the way that you would expect, and of course it's going to break down or get stuck or something. But this is what I really like. 3 characters, no mobile signal, can't speak to anyone. It gave loads of opportunities for some lovely family chat. And Jane Hazelgrove and Peter Ash particularly, who are the main players in this. Absolutely wonderful. Good job on Tuesday. So the story goes that she params the van to Gemma and Paul. There seemed like a bit of an unnecessary false start to this, didn't there? Because Gemma's like, oh, I can't go away while Joseph's in hospital, and Paul says, oh, Billy wouldn't like the thought of me going on my own, and he was supposed to be off with someone, wasn't he? I can't remember what happened with that in the end. So they're both saying, no, we can't go. Next scene we see of them, they've changed their mind for no good reason, and they've got their bags packed, coats on, and off they go down the country roads having a lovely sing-song, drone shots and all. Very lovely. It felt like it was the same kind of area of the country where Harvey Gaskell's van crashed, and it looked very similar to that area, didn't it? But I got no idea where it was. Maybe somebody can tell me. Later on, though, they are somewhat lost, and I did get flashbacks to last time we went camping up north when we couldn't find the campsite ourselves. Yeah, when we went to Manchester last to see Sue Devaney.
We were in the Midlands then, weren't we?
Well, north of here. And we were driving around these country roads, no signage, no sat-nav signal, no map, trying to find the campsite. But, at least we did find it in the end and not end up in the middle of a rugby pitch. But, yeah, they find this field, get stuck in the mud. Trapped. Back on the street, though, Billy's there and wondering where Paul is. He obviously gets it into his head. maybe this is the night Paul's taken himself off to do away with himself, so he's somewhat panicked by this.
Well, the pills are gone.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't know that the pills had been moved, so massive drama there. The twins, Gemma and Paul, aren't impressed.
He runs into the Rovers and tells everybody.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he's checking.
He's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, where is everybody? David is there, like saying, "Oh, we'll send out a search party," but he's a bit just David-ish about how he delivers that line. He doesn't. I just didn't think he seemed to be taking it that seriously.
No, it is quite serious, really, because it's not like Paul's often out and about, is it?
No, he doesn't get around much these days.
No, it's not like he's probably popped to town.
But I suppose Billy's the only one that knows that Paul has said that he might take some medicine to help him along his way.
But also, you might, you don't need illegal drugs. You could just jump off a bridge or something.
This is true. So anyway, that's all going on in the street. If
anyone wants any good ideas,
just off a bridge. Night's fallen over in the rugby
that.
pitch. They don't know it's a rugby pitch at the moment. Bernie says, "Look, yeah, maybe I took a wrong turn. Sorry. Oh no, the car won't move. The van won't move. Looks like that slow puncture has finally caught up with us."
What slow puncture?
They've got one. Gemma's phone's ringing. They're there a bit later on, and Billy's been looking around. He's frantic. He can't get hold of them because, as you know, in the country, no reception. And he gets through to her, but doesn't realise that it's her that he's talking to, or maybe it was Paul's phone and Gemma picked it up. I can't remember, but basically it's a bit of a. I don't know whether I like this the way that they found out, but he doesn't realise that he's not talking to Paul, so he just starts blurting out, "Now's not the time. I know you got the drugs," or something like that, doesn't he?
Yes.
How did you feel that it was a little bit like clunky the way that they found it out?
Yeah.
I don't know how. I'm kind of in a way glad that they do know and it's out in the open, but anyway, I can't suggest any other better way.
They engineered this specifically so that they could have this.
Yeah.
And it's good that this scene happened, but yeah, how we got here was a bit weird.
Yeah.
Mind.
Anyway,
it all made sense.
It made sense. Put Gemma and Bernie are like, what is he talking about? And Paul's trying to avoid Bernie's questions for a while, but they know what's going on, and he's not getting away with it. And he says, eventually, admits, "Yeah, I just want the choice to die when I'm ready." And but Bernie's great throughout all of this. She's like, "Oh, bully for you, stuff the rest of us." I can't even imagine what that must have felt, what that must feel like to hear from your own son that this is your plan. I mean, for one thing, I suppose being told by your partner, that's one thing, like Billy, but to find out from your son who you feel already guilty about bringing MND on, which was what she said to Abby, that now he's going to do this. Terrible stuff. But I suppose, a bit like Billy, she does come round to the idea quite quickly, doesn't she? She's firstly kind of going, "Look, why would Billy sign up to this? So-called man of God. Has he got to you when you were inside?" He kind of implies that he might have.
She does.
No, he implies that he was going to do it to himself while she was in prison.
Paul did.
Yeah. But Billy was able to stop him. And Bernie, so this makes things worse because she could have come out of prison and he'd be dead.
I don't get why he said that, and I don't really recall it ever feeling like he was ready to do it.
I don't think he's been like ready on the precipice, like now or never, and somebody has to wrestle the pills out of his hand. But I suppose it adds to the drama. Gemma's there as well. I mean, Dolly did a good job in these scenes as well, because I really do buy the sibling relationship between the two of them. She's just like, just promise that you won't do it, and he can't.
No, because it's not about them. It's about him.
He's made this choice now. This has been tumbling about in his head since last summer, and he's made the decision. It's not the decision that he's taken lightly. He's had other people like Billy and Todd that he's had to convince of it, which has probably made him all the more convinced that it's the right thing to do. And if he agrees to kind of think it over again for their sake, then he could just change his mind back again, and then he'll want to change it this way again. And so I think, yeah, he's probably in the right here to put his foot down and be stubborn about it.
Yeah,
because it's
nobody else has to live in his body except for him. And there's a lot of this is obviously, we're talking about suicide here. We learned a lot about it from Aidan's story, and I know a lot of people react, it's very selfish of you to take your own life, but it really genuinely isn't about anybody else except the person who's doing it. And it's, although this is a different reason why he's doing this, you just can't appeal to people who've made this choice in that way. I suppose that's what the Samaritans are for. You could say. Well, no, I know, but I just want to, anyone who ever thinks, oh, it's my fault because I wasn't enough or I couldn't convince somebody not to, it's just not, it just doesn't even come into it.
No, and I think that we did learn that through the Aidan storyline. Lots of people are making the obvious comparisons to the Hayley story, but there's definitely elements of Aidan in here as well, aren't there? Because we got to see everybody's different reactions, and Kate was the one that said it. She was the one saying that Aidan was selfish, and Johnny was feeling guilty about it, and I think it was Beth that was saying,
said it was selfish.
Yeah.
But it's obviously a completely different thing because he had a mental issue. He was sick mentally, and this is him. Paul is sick physically, but.
There hasn't been anybody yet, and I know only a small number of people know, but there hasn't been anyone yet whose automatic reaction has been,
"Oh, good."
That sounds, I immediately respect your decision. But they've just come around to the idea relatively quickly.
But it is really interesting that people's different responses to the idea of suicide, depending on what the reason is, because a lot of people are really, really accepting of assisted suicide for people who have physical ailments or a terminal illness, but there are some places where I think it's becoming accepted to decide to make this decision because of a mental illness, and that feels like a completely different conversation. But I know that there have been cases of people having assisted suicide for that reason, and it just feels really, really horrible, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to make a decision for myself about this yet, about which side I'm on, and it's one of the it's a taboo subject, isn't it? That was the whole thing, and I find it difficult to talk about.
This is what I said before about the implications of assisted suicide and making it legal that people don't really think about, because what's really the difference? If you're in pain, but it's from a mental issue, but you're just that you're never gonna overcome it, and you don't want to be here anymore. What's that? How is that different? Really,
it's understandable how people think there's only one way out of this.
I don't want anyone to think I'm advocating for anything particular. I'm just saying that there's a lot more to talking about this than just, it's completely logical in this situation, and I would wouldn't want to stop anybody.
It's not a black and white.
No, it really isn't. And Coronation Street, it's quite interesting that they've done this storyline twice now without really talking about why this might not be a good idea.
Well, but Roy was not supportive. Well, he was supportive in the end, but
he wasn't happy about it
begrudgingly.
Afterwards.
No, and it certainly wasn't afterwards. This is different in that more people are finding out. There's a good 7, 8 people maybe now know that Paul's planning to do this, whereas Roy was the only one that knew. So again, there's scope now for people to talk about it, and we might see more of those conversations between people about should Paul be doing this or not. What do you think? I don't know. We didn't have that with Hayley.
I just think this happens a lot more than people think it does, and it just gets brushed under the carpet, because what would be the purpose of doing anything about it? I know that medical professionals sometimes help people go faster than they might have done. I know that for a fact. So legalising it, I don't think is in Anyway.
Anyway.
I don't know what I think. I'm glad I don't have to know from experience.
Yeah, well, that's I agree on that one. I really enjoyed the scene later when we had Bernie and Gemma sitting on the chairs outside the camper van, like staring up at the sky. Fair play to Jane and Dolly and Peter, by the way. They must have been freezing filming all of this. This must have been filmed like back in December time. At night, no nighttime filters on this one. They're sitting there looking at the stars. It was lovely. And Gemma's like, I don't think I can ever accept this. And Bernie's starting to come round to the idea and saying, look, the most important thing here, whether we accept it or not, Paul needs to know that we love and trust and accept him. And then we cut to Paul having a cry.
Can he hear them?
I don't know.
I don't know if he's crying because he feels alone, or is he crying because he feels relief that he...
It didn't seem like a happy cry.
No.
It was... I think that he's crying because he's now burdened his mum and sister with this knowledge.
I know. Do you not
unintentionally.
Think it's a bit crappy of them to be like, right, Paul, well, you sit here by yourself. I know you can't move. We're going to sit outside and talk about you.
And then he's crying by himself in the dark. Sleep or something. I think he's gone to bed, or he's saying he's gone to bed, but actually he just needs some time on his own to kind of debrief himself. But that was. Do
you know
really
what I say about the story?
Scene. What?
It's a bit sad.
It's a bit sad. Paul's a bit sad.
And it's very controversial.
We have an award at the end of the year for the bit sad. The bit sad award. Anyway, next morning, and I love this. This so rarely happens. An episode stretching into the next day.
Okay.
It feels like a little special treat. I mean, the fact that it was nighttime, that's different for Coronation Street. That very rarely happens. And it was nighttime about a third of the way into the episode, I think. But for them actually to go to the next day, they seem to like they did it a bit more often in the early days, didn't they? In some of the 60s episodes, you like get an evening and then a morning. But I loved it. I loved it. And
I got confused then because I know what the next sentence is, and I thought you were referring to that.
Oh, what? Gemma going out for a poo?
I love this. I think it's great. They don't normally do this on Coronation Street.
Oh, I did. I'm sure some people hated that. I didn't mind it. I thought it was quite fun.
Do you know she was actually going to do a number 2 and not...
Yeah, she did. She says, I'm going to have a poo.
I don't know.
She literally said that. This is Gemma Winter here. She's got no filter when it comes to bodily functions, has she?
Why wouldn't you get a camper van at a toilet? How's Paul gone to the toilet this whole time?
I don't know.
Let's not think about it.
Don't know how Paul's gone to the toilet. I don't even know how Paul was able to get into that camper van, let alone get out of the toilet there. Or maybe there is one there and Gemma just likes to do her own natural when she's going camping.
This is often a criticism of caravan camping, that basically you have to listen to your nan doing a poo in a cupboard next to you.
Yeah.
So I guess perhaps to maintain some kind of decorum, she's decided to poo outside.
Maybe.
Like a civilised person.
And that's again like Dolly. I never spoken to her. I don't. But again, fair play to her for doing this. She's the vilest character, not in a horrible way, but in a personality way. Although sometimes
say vile
she is
the right word.
Just gross. She's a gross out character.
I'd say organic.
Because she's there and she's like taking down her onesie, isn't she?
She's got a roll of toilet paper in her
bright green
hand.
toilet paper, wasn't it? And
she's like chinning her clothes so that to keep them away of the foul. Yeah. Excrement.
I'm just wondering if in 30 years' time we get a best of Gemma compilation on ITV and we get to see all of these clips where she does the grossest things and Dolly's there saying, "Oh yes, darlings."
They didn't believe I would do it, but I said, "Well, I have."
Darling, it's my art. I'll do anything.
They cut out the bit where I actually did do a poo. But I said to the director, "I'm not. I've got to commit myself completely, darling. I can't pretend I am a method actor." It
would have been a poo at Paul's, wouldn't it? Poo at Paul's. If you're of a certain age
from this country,
poo at Paul's should hopefully have just
awakened
rung
some
nostalgia bells for you there. Anyway, write in if you know what poo at Paul's means.
She's about to do a poo.
About to do a poo.
What happens then?
When some rugby men come down because they are in the middle of a rugby pitch. They didn't explore very far last night or crash into any rugby goals or whatever they're called. What are they called? What do you score in a rugby?
A try-bridge.
I don't know. I played rugby at school for about 6 years.
We weren't allowed to play rugby because we were girls.
We had to play rugby for
you were boys.
8 months of the year. Autumn term, spring term, it was rugby.
I see. The thing is about
hated
it, Michael, is that your sex, male sex, you created this society, so you can't complain when you're forced to play rugby.
I know, but
you're the architect of your own
did
destruction.
bring me back some horrible memories. It was because I went to school in the town of Rugby, where rugby was invented, and so we had to play rugby every week.
Did you not feel some kind of geographical pride?
I just felt cold.
But you were good at running, though, weren't you?
Yes. You wouldn't know this from me now, but I used to be. I went through a brief stage in maybe about year 9 of being one of the tallest in the class, but I was always a fast runner. I was a second best sprinter in the year group.
Wow.
And so I went through. Once I got into year 9, people realised that if they threw me the ball and I was on the wing, I just shot down there, scored a try. And I was successful at sport for a little bit, and then everybody caught up with me. And my best friend Mark was also quite fast, and he would just run and tackle me. And I didn't like getting muddy.
No, and also when you're running,
don't like getting muddy.
When you're running and it's cold, you create wind on yourself and make yourself colder. So
I was glad to be able to drop rugby when I went into sixth form, but it didn't make more of a man of me as much as my PE teacher probably wished that I had. Anyway,
Michael, you are as much of a man as you ever need to be.
I don't think it would have equipped me with the skills to push a camper van out of a big muddy hole.
I do think that there's a certain sort of man who pursues rugby into his adult years and beyond, who might be a bit handier to push a van.
And that's what they did.
Ditch.
That's what they did. Gemma's there like, morning lads, with her trousers down.
My question is, did she still need a poo this whole time?
I don't know what happened with that in the end.
If you're so desperate, how do you poke it back in?
She actually said like, I'm turtling here or something, didn't she?
Turtly gross.
He's like fat bastard off Austin
You can't
Powers,
say that, can you? Well, his parents are married, because if they were, then you can technically say it. But if it's a slur, then I'm afraid not.
This is the gross. I'm sorry, everybody. This is what happens when we record a podcast and we're not mega tired because it's 10 o'clock at night. We're anyway, 6:45 now.
We're not supposed to get sidetracked. Claudia is waiting for us.
Claudia is waiting for us in 2 hours and 15 minutes as of the time we're recording. Anyway, they get pushed out. They go home and they find Billy's in a hospital bed because he's done his back in doing the. What was it, the bump or the bop or something? Anyway,
yeah, they basically at the pub they got Billy drunk to distract him from the fact
that he's got no idea where his husband is.
His husband's going to die, and so he just had a herniated disc.
Yeah, and that's it. They just Paul tells him what they know, and he says it was a nice kind of positive end to the episode where he says, "I'm not ready to go anywhere just quite yet." Or something like that. So Wednesday's episode, Billy comes over to the flat.
This turns into a Moses story.
Yes, it does kind of in the end, doesn't it? It's all sorts. But Billy's on his back on the sofa. Moses is running late again. Bernie goes foraging some nettles in the ginnel for a back remedy, some lovely ginnel nettles. And Todd finds Moses stressed walking up to the flat. Like you said earlier, this storyline, the Moses part of it, is all about telling us that people in his line of work are very stressed out and busy, and he's like, he went to the last person and they collapsed on the floor, so we had to wait with them with an ambulance. And Todd's like, look, don't worry, gives a hug, mate, it's gonna be okay.
You'll be all right.
Bernie, meanwhile, fresh from nettle picking in Ginnell, is there staring on, seeing Todd and Moses having a big old hug, and she's like, and then she bloody dobs him in.
This was really out of character for her.
I could kind of see her doing it, but now wasn't the time. I think that she would. I think that she likes to stir things, but I didn't. It didn't sit right with me when she did it at this point. She just wants. I suppose the fact that she kicked Moses out the other day, didn't she, so that she could do the cleaning. Now she's saying, "Where is Moses?"
That's what I said before, didn't I say that? And everyone's always having a go at him or telling him he's superfluous.
So yeah, he ends up getting suspended because he was too busy hugging Todd on the front doorstep to get up to help Paul into the toilet.
Classic soap misunderstanding.
So she kind of makes sarky comments about him finally arriving when she goes up there, and this is when Paul tells Bernie about the suspension, and she's like, "Oh, oops. How did that happen?" She clearly admits that it was her. Says, "Look, I saw him and Todd canoodling. I don't know who's going to get suspended. I just thought he was going to get the frighteners put up him." And Billy tells him that Moses is he's having a really tough time at the moment. And then she tries to fix it, but she can't. She tries to ring the PA services, and they're like, "No, sorry, we've got to investigate his street side hugging incidents now."
He can't be unsuspended.
And so Bernie kind of slopes off home feeling rather guilty of herself. Yeah. So
lots of people who he's come here. He's immigrated, hasn't he, to this country? Is he asylum seeker? I couldn't work it out, but he's obviously left his home country because of persecution. He was a physiotherapist, I think, and he can't practice here because he doesn't have the correct qualifications. But a lot of times you need to be employed to be able to stay here. And if he's not employed, if he gets fired, he could be in real serious trouble.
I didn't even consider that. Like, yeah, is this going to mean he's going to be deported? I don't think so. I said that I'm expecting him to be a temporary character, but I don't think it's going to be that temporary.
He's probably going to reunite with his brother in Nottingham.
Yeah, Darien style. I hope that Bernie gives him a genuine and heartfelt apology for this, because she was absolutely out of order for reporting him. But like I said, it didn't feel completely in character that she would do that.
I want to give props to Moses for knowing almost every single English idiom and weird turn of phrase and slang, apart from the one that Todd said. I can't remember what it was this week, where Todd was like, I can't remember. He said some phrase, and Moses was like, literally, I've never heard that before in my life, but I know everything else that you all say. We had that a bit with, and I understand all of your accents.
There was a bit of that with Samir in the 90s, wasn't there? Deirdre using these phrases, and every so often he go, what does that mean?
Yeah, but Moses has a very good grasp of vernacular of the north of England.
Yes, he does, surprisingly. So maybe he likes Corrie himself.
Maybe he watches it. Maybe it'd be weird, wouldn't it?
Maybe he's a fan of the Dales, I don't know. So now that Bernie and Gemma know, do you think that this is going to have any effect on whether Paul actually does it? Because I still can't decide whether he's going to do it or not.
Maybe this is going to be a whodunit.
Who helped him?
Maybe Paul will just end up dead one day and everyone's going to be like, who did it? Who did it? And nobody will admit.
It was them.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, I don't know where this is going and why everybody knows. I don't know what the purpose of it, apart from to wring as much drama as possible out of each individual character reacting to finding the information out.
I kind of, in some way, I'd rather Bernie know now and accept it than it happen afterwards and then have her go after Billy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see her harassing Billy for, you killed my son.
Yeah.
I mean, she still might do, because accepting it, saying you accept it is one thing, but actually having to live it is something else.
Do you think we're heading for a big deathbed scene?
I think there will be a big deathbed
like
scene.
Alma.
I'd like, if I picture it in my head, I'd like everybody to be around the bed. Bit like with Sinead. I don't need it to be just Billy and Paul.
At the end of Wizard of Oz.
Bit like that, yeah.
Except the other way
in reverse, yeah. I still don't know. I still don't think I want it to be that's how it ends, but I am
think that's where it's
at
going
peace
now.
with the fact that the story is at least exploring it or paying lip service.
If that's where it goes, this kind of like really heart-wrenching, big schmaltzy end where everybody's around hugging each other and crying, watching Paul saying goodbye, I guess that's probably the best way they could end it, except for the whole heroic thing that I don't think is going to happen now. But because then it's justified as to why they're doing the story again, even though it's 10 years ago. But Hayley didn't have that experience. Hayley's death was actually quite sordid and not, you know what I mean? It was dark and it was sad because
this could be done in a way that looks nice.
Roy was trying to stop her and she wouldn't let him, and she drank it, and it was very sad and desperate. But the thing is that Coronation Street could be opening themselves up to some real big criticism here. if they make it look, if they you know, inverted commas, glamorise Paul's suicide, it could actually
that
be
is
quite
an actually
harmful.
really good point, and it's like you can say, well, it's brave of them if they do it, but you're right, they could absolutely be, if they do it and make it look like it's a nice way to go,
it could
that's
actually
possibly
be quite a bad move, because although in an ideal world everyone's happy in their lives and we're all very well adjusted and we can watch things and we all kind of get what the point of them is, and there are still could be people watching it going, God,
I don't know how it's been
But let me finish.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Still, the suicide is actually contagious in a psychological, social manner, and the fact that they've told us what the method is a real big no-no. You're not supposed to talk about methods.
Yeah, they didn't with Hayley. Maybe that's a reason to think
Well,
that they're not going to do it.
They didn't with Aidan either.
No.
And there's very specific guidelines for how you're supposed to treat suicide, and it could inspire people who don't have MND but are feeling like they can't continue in their lives. It could actually be a massively bad move.
If they're actually saying benzos will do it.
Well, yeah, and this is what to do if you're really sad, and everyone will be happy and say goodbye
so
to you,
maybe
and it'll
that
be
means
beautiful.
that they won't do that.
That's what I'm thinking. I would love to live in a world where we could have that scene, and it would be really touching, and everyone would, you know, feel their heart, you know, break a little bit, but also grow a little bit, and that'd be fine. But we don't live in that world. We live in a world where somebody will watch that and decide to do the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know how other soaps have done it, and this has been done. I'm sure every soap has had.
Isn't that what Lola did?
Did she?
I don't know. So I'm asking you.
No, I don't know. I know in EastEnders, Dot Cotton helped one of her mates self-euthanise, but this is going back 10, 15 years maybe, and that was similar to Billy's story in that Dot Cotton was obviously very religious, and then it kind of conflicted with her beliefs. But yeah, I think that Hollyoaks has done it. East Emmerdale must have done it, and it'd be interesting to see how similar they are, because of the very careful line you have to tread when doing this sort of story.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things. This is the thing about, you know, we talk about the soaps when we criticise some of the decisions that get made, but they do have a social responsibility. And this is just such a complicated subject.
Yeah. Changing the subject completely before we move on to the next story. Billy's back is there.
Maybe he's got back cancer.
Because he had his back thing in the bath, then he had this back thing. Was this necessary for him to have a back problem in this episode, or is this going to lead anywhere? I saw somebody online saying, maybe he takes Paul's medicine, but that medicine isn't a painkiller, is it? It's supposed to be for seizures and
I don't know.
I don't know whether it works on backs, but
I don't know.
It seems like it's, you know, it happens once on the bath scene, fine, it was just for comedic potential, but the fact that it's happened twice now is making me think, Billy's back is going to somehow tie into that story a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? I never really thought about it. Maybe they were just like, look, the bed's cold, Joseph's bed's cold, someone's got to jump in it quick.
Okay, shall we move on to another fairly tragic story, the Splat the Rat story with old Liam and Mason and Mrs. Crawshaw, who somewhat blind to the plight of her poor picked upon students, but you know, she's a busy woman.
She's got toilets to clean.
Plenty of jobs to do.
She's got to get the sausages and mash out.
Member of staff. Yeah.
She's got to mark everyone's work. She's got to do science experiments.
Poor Daniel. I mean, not poor Daniel. Bloody Daniel. It's the opposite.
She's
Since
got to
he left,
order all the textbooks.
Maybe they do. I don't know.
What?
Just
have
employ some actors
person
to be a teacher that's walking past. But maybe they do, and we just don't see it. But seriously,
doesn't seem to be any other adults.
It's silly, and it's the same with Swain. And I think I've said this before. We're getting into a position where Swain is the only detective at that station. And the one thing that I really liked about Weatherfield CID is they had a bit of a rotation of officers, but now it seems to be all Swain all the time. I like Swain, give the others a chance. But Crawshaw at the school there, she's not even the head teacher.
Deputy.
But she's doing it all.
She gets the big bucks.
it's getting to be a bit of a joke.
She's a woman who can do it all, Michael. Are you trying to have a go at her? Look,
Right.
you've seen her hair.
I have.
She's got the haircut of a serious woman.
Right. Go on. What's been going on with old Liam and Mason and Dylan?
Well, on Monday it's the Windass Connors.
They're just getting ready in the morning.
They're getting ready, and we were reminded that there's going to be a beating.
Yes.
Scheduled
outside the science block after school or lunchtime. Maybe be there.
I
there
forgot.
for a beating.
Liam's getting bullied.
Yeah.
And Jake says
You
can't
Mason,
beat him up.
who doesn't even go to my school because I'm still at the primary school and he's doing his GCSEs. But forget about that. He's let me know that you need to meet him by the science block and he's going to rough you up.
Sean nearly catches Dylan being shady on the phone, and he and George know something is going on with him because he is Mason's lackey. Mm-hmm. And then at the lockers, Mason intimidates Liam, and then Mrs. Crawshaw's like, "You're a dog," and everyone's like, "Ha ha ha."
I can't remember what it was.
No, but she's like sick burn, and everyone's like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
right.
Everyone's kind of laughing at Mason. Basically,
she
yeah,
says,
doesn't
"You
like
have your eyelashes are too flamboyant," like that, and it was like, "Oh, can't believe it." Gary tries to speak to about Liam's bullying, and Sean doesn't want to hear it.
Yes.
There's a bit of a drama between the parents there. I hate it when parents have drama on soaps. It's just so annoying, isn't it? Just so annoying. Because you can never really, like, I know, when you're a parent, you're always going to take your kid's side, so it's just they're arguing about nothing, because they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just so frustrating.
Sean in this week's episode has been definitely winding some viewers up. I've not minded too much, but he is being exceedingly blind in this.
Yeah, but this is
because he must know what
like.
Dylan is like. Sorry, Liam
yeah.
is like. But I am kind
mean?
of. He knows that Liam isn't the sort to do this. He must do.
Well, I'm getting confused.
But I'm thinking that he's being so defensive of his Dylan, and that does make sense in a way. He explains it off later on in the week by saying, "Well, I was bullied when I was little, and you know what? I sat back and I took it. Well, I'm not having that for my son."
Yep.
That kind of makes sense to
Yep.
me. As does the fact that Sean hasn't been raising. He's not been present for Dylan's life, and he's, you know, for whatever reason,
Poor dead Violet
has now been looking after him for 2-3 years now. And he feels like he's got to do the right thing because he's been absent for the first 14-13 years of his life.
Let's just remind ourselves of the reason why Dylan is in Weatherfield and not London with Violet.
He was being bullied, wasn't
He was being bullied.
Yeah.
Has there been any introspection or discussion or realisation from Dylan about the fact that he's, you know, now become the bully?
No, but I think
it'd be nice if there was.
I think,
and I'm going to say
there could be still.
It's really not unusual for this to happen.
Yeah, no, exactly, for the bullied to become the
bully.
bully.
There's no such thing as a person who's a bully. You know, bullies are made from circumstances.
Yeah. And in this case, Dylan just doesn't want to be a victim again.
Yeah, exactly.
So he found himself compelled to join Mason, and you can tell that he's not really enjoying it. I think that when Sean finds out, because obviously he will eventually, he's going to probably bring that up.
I hope so. It'd be silly to waste that character background, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So Dylan sees Liam later and says, "You're going to get hurt. You need to bail out of this. Don't meet up with Mason." And Liam's like, "No way." And Dylan then tries to get Mason to stop fighting him by calling him a loser, saying, "Liam's a loser, why are you wasting your time with him?" But Liam arrives just to hear Dylan call him a loser and gets really upset, and then Mason riles them both up to fight each other, and then along comes Mrs. Crawshaw right as there's a bit of a swing and a punch.
Yeah, but it wasn't much, was it?
It was a bit of
Liam kind of swipes at Dylan but ends up kind of half missing him and hugging him a little bit, and then doesn't he push him up against the wall? I mean, I'm not saying, you know, Gary's line throughout all of this week is, you know, it's just a little bit of rough and tumble, it's nothing.
Roughy tufty. Boys will be boys.
And I do not think badly of Gary for thinking that, because he's our age, isn't he? He was brought up in an era where that's what you would say, and I think we've moved on a little bit from that now, and the zero tolerance approach is probably the best thing to do. But
I don't agree with that.
Well, it clearly was something, and to tell a child, oh, it was nothing. It was just, he was just pushing you up again. Deal with it. Man up. It was just
middle
nothing.
Ground.
Yeah. But as a viewer, I was thinking, I was hoping to see a little bit more. That's not going to get an Ecky Thump nomination. And they've got some good
fight.
They've got some good fight coordinators at Corrie, and this was a little bit of barely anything.
Well. Mrs. Crawshaw breaks it up. They get a telling off. And then she says, everybody, tell me what happened. I want everybody's in front of each other to tell me together. Come up with your story
Mason,
right now.
you're the most trustworthy of my students. Let's have your version of events.
It's not like earlier I wasn't telling you were a dog.
I know.
Mason says, Liam punched Dylan for no reason. And she says, is this true? And they're like, yes, it is true. And she's like, well, that's it then. And everyone in my office now, I'm too busy for this. I don't have time. I've got to put on a pantomime. And it's just January. It makes no sense.
No, but we had a pantomime at our school today.
Did you?
Yeah, every January we have a travelling pantomime. It's probably cheaper in January.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Like third floor with you, they did Cinderella.
Did they? That's lovely.
I didn't stay in the hall to watch it, I'm going to say.
Shame. That's a perky job.
I hear it went down well.
Right, so Sean has the boys off to her office, and then Sean, in the street, sees Maria and Gary. They start a slanging match because Liam's been suspended, and Sean's mad because Liam was attacking his son Dylan. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, you're right. He's a bit blind about this. I would be suspicious if my child had been beaten up by Liam. I'd be suspicious of the story. I'd say, what really happened?
Yeah.
Anyway, inside,
I would also say that maybe things are different up in Manchester, in Weatherfield, but yet again, a child has been suspended from school for something that I would say is probably not a suspendable offence. Yes, if it's bullying, absolutely, but I don't know. If a child is just pushing somebody, there's going to be consequences.
But this is the thing,
but
though,
I don't think they'd be suspended for that.
There's a difference between fights and bullying, isn't there? And sometimes parents don't know the full story or what's going on, and they think somebody's being bullied, but they're not.
Oh yeah, but absolutely,
and vice versa.
But I'm just going to say that Mrs. Crawshaw, in suspending Liam, I don't.
Maybe she's like, get rid of the kids. Everyone gets suspended. Everyone's suspended. Everyone go home.
Yeah, gives me fewer to think about.
Inside,
and
Liam...
how long is he being suspended for?
Indefinitely. With full pay. Maria doesn't get why Liam is going to punch Dylan. And Gary's like, I think I know. I told him to. But then I said it was a bad idea.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Gary's like, I said, back in my day, I'd just give him a good hiding. But you shouldn't do that. And she's like, you dumb idiot. Why would you tell Liam?
He was stupid. You think it, Gary.
I don't know. This is too hard being a parent. I say just drown him at birth.
Just don't do it.
Over at number 11, Sean is telling Dylan to stay away.
Although we did have to drag Abby away from an almost cat fight the other day, didn't we? We got a lovely ginger cat that comes to visit our back garden.
It's like, leave it, it's not worth it.
He just wants to be friends with Abby. Abby's not happy.
Well, we don't know what his intentions are on our daughter, so we have to keep them separate.
He's like the nicest cat.
Right.
He's like so affectionate and lovely, and I wish that he and Abby could be friends.
Right.
Anyway.
Over at number 11, Sean says, leave that nasty bully alone. Don't talk to him anymore. And Joel's like, this doesn't make any sense. Why did Liam even go for him? I don't get it.
It wasn't.
And Dylan says,
George has had a scene alone with Liam, hasn't he?
He talks to everybody about being bullied.
Yeah.
And Sean's not giving up. Later on, Craig comes to the flat. He's like, I'm investigating a very serious offence.
Again, becoming the only uniformed officer in Weatherfield.
So who's done this then? Who's done this? He goes to say Liam needs to come down the station tomorrow because there's an allegation of assault made against him. So it must have been Sean has reported. What kind of a person?
Like I said, it's kind of understandable if it.
I can totally see a situation where you think the school's not doing enough about this. My kid's been seriously assaulted. I'm going to the police because there's really no reason why the school should be expected to handle some things and not others. But this was just a little bit of a shove.
It really was.
It's really difficult to know what you would do. I'd probably be phoning Rishi Sunak saying we need to get this whole family in prison.
One might think that round the side of the science block would be prime spot for CCTV in Weatherfield High.
Yeah, but it's Mrs. Crawshaw's responsible for changing the tapes and she hasn't had time. So there's no evidence. Right, so on Tuesday, Maria and Liam head off to the police station. Maria's digging at Gary again for telling Liam to be violent. Gary and Sean have a confrontation in the street and he's like, I'm not going to let Dylan suffer from bullies anymore. At the station, Maria and Liam hear Dylan's a bit over embellished statement. What's Dylan think he's playing at?
He's been just fed this by Mason, hasn't he? I'm sure Mason said, look, this is what you need to say, because he's an expert about getting himself out of any kind of trouble and playing it on other people.
But Dylan's not in trouble though, is he? He's getting Liam in trouble.
Yeah.
Liam's like, yeah, that's what happened. And Maria's like, no, it isn't. What are you talking about?
Mason just wants to make things bad for...
Yeah, but Dylan's...
old rat boy.
Yeah, Dylan's...
And Dylan's going along with it. He's doing anything that
Tisk.
Mason says.
The officer says, we're going to do restorative justice. And you need to...
like Michael Rodwell.
If you've watched Coronation Street, you'll know exactly what I mean. Liam needs to apologise to Dylan. God, imagine being a police officer and being like, okay, you pushed this kid, he didn't like it, now can you say sorry? Like, no, get out of it, get out of the office. Like, seriously, there's murders.
This is Weatherfield. There's murder, literally.
There's murders
one a year.
And drug dealers.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Crimes
Everywhere I look.
We've only got one CID officer and one uniform officer in the whole station. Do we really need to deal with this?
Couldn't Mrs. Crawshaw get Liam to make a serious apology to Dylan? What does this involve? Has it got to be written one? Am I police officer random face gonna have to mark it for grammar to make sure it's properly serious?
Yeah.
It better not be done through ChatGPT. I'll run it through one of those things just to make sure.
Yeah, see, Mrs. Crawshaw probably should have just dealt with this herself, because there's probably a bit more paperwork having the police involved.
Exactly. They haven't got time for this. The apology happens the next day. Mrs. Crawshaw, the police officer's like, oh, the case closed. Another crime solved by Weather. That's probably why they took it on. Yeah, this is an easy win. We can say we solved this crime.
Yeah.
A kid pushed another kid and we made him apologise. Okay. Excellent work.
Put it up on the chalkboard. Number of crimes solved today.
1.
Oh,
excellent.
Nice. Get in.
Days since crime not solved. Right, we're about 100.
Yeah, that's true.
So...
And Craig's like, I was involved in this partly.
How come I couldn't have done the apology? Right, so Liam, all is that, and Miss Crawshaw says, well, even though you think the matter's closed, Mr. Policeman, it's actually still school business and Liam's suspended still. Why does there have to be 2 layers of people getting in trouble? Gary says, this is ridiculous. This is just playground argy-bargy. Back in my day, we used to get sent to war. I literally went to war, so... I think this is stupid. And they're all bickering.
I think this is over the top.
Liam apologises to Dylan. Again, twice. And...
all the grown-ups are just arguing over themselves, aren't they?
But Dylan's like...
And amongst the hullabaloo, Liam's like, I'm sorry, though.
We'll wait for you at school. So Dylan's threatening him, right?
Yeah. You're not saying, don't worry, we'll all be here waiting for you when you come back. We can have lunch together. I wasn't sure which
you've written. Liam apologises to Dylan, but he tells him as soon as he's back in school, they'll be waiting for him. So
yeah, he's saying, yeah, you better not
watch
come
back. Wednesday, Maria's still a bit worried about Liam and why he wouldn't say what really happened. But then, then the whole story changes into completely different. It's just like the start of Pinocchio or something. Liam finds a puppet in Gary's shop, and he's going to do it up, and then if it gets sold, he's going to take half the money.
If that doesn't prove that he's not a bully, then I don't know what does. This kid who finds an old wooden toy in an antique shop and go, oh my gosh,
it's like the beginning of a Disney
what a treasure trove this is.
Oh, he's so whimsical.
I don't think people who like puppets are bullies. Maybe that's a broad generalisation here. But
I'm going to tell Dylan and make sure that Liam gets bullied about this properly. Because if they've got this ammunition to use against
it really is ammunition.
This is what you bully people about, playing with puppets.
Yeah.
At the age of however old he is.
I don't know, I was 15, 16 or so.
I don't approve of bullying, but there is a lot of things going around that I feel you could be bullied for that aren't being properly used as ammunition. These bullies are just amateurs.
This is another story that I wish was resonating with me a bit more. And I kind of should, but I do like it when if there's a time when I don't really enjoy a story, but if I see other people are enjoying it, I do kind of think good for them, but I feel a little bit jealous, and this is one of these. I'm not particularly feeling it.
Do you need to have a child of school age or to be a child of school age?
Maybe you do. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people saying, I was bullied at school. This is bringing back memories for me. When we've said that we were bullied at school before, but maybe I wasn't bullied in quite the same way, to the same extent. I don't think I wasn't pushed and shoved around, and we didn't have social media and phones and all that. I think, well, go on.
No.
I think possibly, had we had that back in the day, I probably would have been on the receiving end of some unpleasant messages.
Yeah, I would have trolled you.
But I'm kind of ready for this story to be over now.
This does feel like the sort of thing that would really connect with you if you've been through this or you've got a kid. Especially the social media aspect of it is horrendous. It sounds like the most oppressively evil thing that could happen. It would ruin your whole school life, wouldn't it? If you've been picked on and people sending messages,
so
can't
terrible.
Do anything, could never hide.
I do feel bad for just children that this exists and phones exist, and they have got to navigate through 8-9 years of school.
How do you do it? I don't know.
It's
horrible. Actually, desperately sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it just is kind of a missing. And again, I've said this before. You can't care about everything and everyone all the time. It's okay to not. But anyway, I just like Miss Crawshaw just running around going. I
like seeing her, but yeah. You mentioned earlier, because I just noticed in the note that I've written here that Moses didn't understand particular expressions, but there was a point in one of the episodes as part of the story this week where Craig didn't understand the expression square eyes. Come on, you would get that, Craig.
Does
you
it
do
not
know
get
what
used
that is.
anymore?
It does. That's the thing. It absolutely does.
I know that TVs aren't square anymore.
Rectangular eyes. It's silly. I think that was a badly written line. Apologies, but the rest was great. Bailiffs at the Baileys.
The rest was great, but I didn't care.
Yeah,
is what you mean.
I wish I cared about it.
Can't care about everything. I just can't.
No, and I feel it does just make me feel a little bit bad about myself that whenever Gary says something, I'm kind of nodding along a little bit.
The thing is, right. There's only so much empathy you can feel. This isn't that none of these people are real.
My empathy is all with Paul.
This is what I'm getting at. Coronation Street again, as much. It's the same as the issue stuff. I can only care about one issue at a time. There's only so much empathy I can give out, and if I don't see, I try really hard. I feel like a bad person when I don't particularly care about something, but equally I'm watching this for fun. I'm not watching this to empathise with teenage bullies and victims of bullies. I'm just watching it to get something interesting out of it, and I'm all empathied out when it comes to this show because of Paul, and I feel maybe a bit more sad for Michael and Ed, and
I think Ed's story is kind of halfway for me. There are scenes where I'm like, oh god, poor Ed, that's really rough for him, and other ones where I'm thinking, okay, you're overdoing it now. Just stop spending money in the casino.
Doesn't feel like there's a balance. There's not enough balance here. It's everyone's having the worst day of their lives every day, and aren't you sad for them?
Well, Dee Dee's having a good time. At the beginning of the story, Ed's saying, "Oh, you and Joel, you're so great together."
Okay,
that's a bit of an insult, I think, maybe. But
if I was Dee Dee, I'd say, "Listen, Dad, I'm only with him because it's good for my career."
Anyway, he gets some post, doesn't he? And is looking a bit worried about it. He pockets it, but Dee Dee's seen it and confronts him. And oh yes, he's in a lot of debt. He's getting all the demands saying, "We need your money back. We're going to repossess this and that." And she says, "Look, you need to sort this. Chase the yard sale. Gary's saying he's going to buy it. Get that money off of him."
Why don't you go down to Gary's yard, get that goddamn puppet off of what's his face, and you do it up yourself.
Yeah.
Do the puppets up, and then you get half of the profits, Dad. What are you doing? You're handy. You're a handy man. You're a builder. You can build a puppet.
It was very much kind of setting uppy stuff on Monday, wasn't it? Because Gary saying, "Yes, I will buy the yard." There was a scene where Ed comes in with some mushroom stroganoff because he's forgotten that Dee Dee said that she was going to cook for him and Joel. But really, the drama is starting on Tuesday, which is when the bailiffs turn up.
Yeah, because this Monday was just like establishing that
remember this story?
Ed's a gooseberry.
Ed's in debt.
He's staying with his daughter. The house is full of people. There's 4 adults living there. Joel keeps staying over. That gets a bit awkward when he sees he's been shagging his daughter all night.
Yeah.
Adam's living there for no reason because he's on a lawyer's wage and he could probably bugger off and find his own flat. But he's still he's moaning at Dee Dee about the fact that Ed's sleeping on his contract. Like, sorry Adam, do work at your office. Don't bring it to the house.
I know, it's stupid, isn't it?
Well, there's 2 lawyers living there with another lawyer coming and bunking in and builder staying on the bed. On the sofa.
And that's all because Michael is being
lording it up over it.
So
number 3.
You can't stay at your own family home anymore.
Starfishing in the bed, in the master bed, going, I got all the room, I can go in whatever room I want.
It used to be Ed, Aggie, Michael and James. And Glory.
And
now it's just
Michael
and Glory. He's got rid of Sarge, yeah. Anyway, they make up by the end of the week anyway.
Don't worry about it.
Bailiffs turn up. And they're like, "Wait, we £5,800 we're owed, please. We're within our rights to start seizing assets." And Ed's like, "Look, we don't need to do this. You can have all my bits in the yard." I was a bit confused about what went on here. I thought that maybe he'd sold them the yard.
I thought that happened too.
So, £5,800, that's a bargain.
Rather than selling them useless crap that, it looks very pretty and nice, but
they don't have to have that fancy sofa.
They don't need a piano. They don't need 3 identical pictures of hummingbirds.
No.
They don't need a rabbit lamp.
He's selling his livelihood.
They don't need curtains that look like tripe. They could get rid of all of those, but no, what's he do? He sells his tools, which are the only means of him gaining...
Literally the tools off his trade.
Exactly.
But it's all right because Damon comes over to him later and said, I'm feeling bad watching this. This week I was like, Damon's all right, actually.
No, hang on. You remember how much you hated Paul when he was a do-gooder?
Yeah.
This is what Damon's doing. Hello, I'm a nice man, really.
I really
man.
am, promise.
You know what? This is only the end if you let it be. Ed, you're still a builder. You got the experience.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Because he wants him to get involved in this potentially dodgy scheme. I don't know.
Well, can't do very much building without a hammer, can he? That's the main thing you need.
Just nut it. Doof. So Wednesday, this is where it all goes to pot.
You want to know the most annoying thing? It's also probably some of that £5,800 or whatever. It's part of that the bloody Wendy house that he's already sold.
Oh yeah. So Ed starts the day feeling pretty chipper and chirping. You turned to me and said, "What's going to go wrong for Ed today?"
Ed starts the day like it's Christmas, but at the end it became Halloween.
Yeah. So he started, I'm going to sell the flat today. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to be able to pay them off. It's going to be great.
Get out your hair.
So he tries to talk with Michael. We just get an establishing scene to remind us that they're not getting on at the moment, or rather Michael is not wanting to get on with Ed. But then, it all starts to go a bit pear-shaped for Ed when he meets Gary at the bistro, who reveals...
The champagne.
Sorry, I can't buy the yard. And Ed's like, I'm counting on this. And Gary says, the stuff's going on with my family. My son's getting bullied. Can't buy a yard.
And it's kind of my fault.
Yeah, just thinking about my family. Maybe you should do the same.
What? This is bonkers, honestly. What a bonkers thing.
That's harsh from Gary.
Well, it's also like... sorry, you can't do...
That's not cricket.
You're not doing anything else, are you? Your son's... I don't get it.
Anyway, he could sell it somewhere else. As long as it doesn't catch on fire or anything, I'm sure he'll find another buyer. Next scene, more bad news in the flat. His mate, whose sofa he was planning to kip on now to get out of Dee Dee's hair, has said, "Sorry, you can't live with me anymore. My knees have gone or something."
No, hang on. I think his niece is moving in.
Oh, was it?
I think it's his niece.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Not his niece.
I thought there was something that was going wrong with his knees. It was his knees, was it? I need to rewatch that now. Like, you can't come and live with me, I've got dodgy knees.
I can't wait for you to meet my new niece.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's happened to your knee?
I get it, that does make sense now.
I just love that. It's brilliant. It's like, I don't know what your knees has got to do with me staying in your garden flat, but fine.
I could be your niece. I could do anything.
I can pick stuff up for you.
Right. Okay. So Ronnie goes, "I'm glad that my deafness has tickled you so.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're probably right. I don't know. I just want to
Who
stop
knows?
the podcast now.
We
and
need
find out,
we need
must
somebody to
plough
fill
on
us in.
because we have now got 1 hour and 40 minutes
know.
until the Traitors is on. So
Do you think somebody else's secret niece on that show?
anyway, Ronnie
Right.
tries to convince Michael to forgive Ed. No, he says, there's going to have to be some kind of major drama that happens to me to forgive my dad, is probably what he's kind of implying there.
Yeah.
And this is what happens. So
Not even
Ed
if he tries
is
to rescue
camping
you
out
from a
in the
fire.
yard. Very tragic scenes.
What? Yeah,
Sad that he
because-
didn't have the Wendy house to help him get a bit of shelter.
Again, he's done this classic thing of like, well, I said I was going to move out, and Didi wouldn't really mind if I stayed there, but I'm so sad. I'm going to go and lay in the field.
This was a total Sean move from Ed, wasn't
I'm
it?
homeless now.
Yeah. So he's wrapped himself up warm there.
Well, he's put on a big...
He put on a big
heater.
coat. Oh yeah, he's got his heater on, hasn't he? And but then he goes off to get some chips.
No, we don't know that.
We don't know him. Ooh, is
Michael,
Ed
stop
still
ruining
there?
it.
Is Ed still there? Because the next thing we know, Michael's walking past and he sees there's a fire in the yard.
Oh no!
Oh no! Races
does he
upstairs
know?
to save the day.
Why does he know that Ed would be in there?
He doesn't. He saw
Why
that.
does he assume that he's in there?
I don't think he did. Well,
Why
I don't
would
know
you
that
run
he
into
did.
a burning building just on the off chance?
Because you're a hero. He's learnt lessons from Abby. Abby would have done it. If she'd have been there,
He should have
she'd have been
phoned
right
the-
up those
the
stairs
fire
like a
brigade.
ferret up a drain pipe.
Well, I think that
But now he's
knew,
learnt his lesson.
I think that he knew that Ed was in there, but we don't know why he knew that.
Did I don't know. I don't know whether
Because
I know
why would
he
you
knew.
run in there to thinking your dad was in there?
For drama, Gemma. For drama.
He's like, I want to be in the
I
main
want to be
one.
a cliffhanger,
I want to
please.
I want to go to the hospital set.
Yeah. So he goes up there and the fire kind of collapses behind him and he's like,
Oh,
oh,
no.
crud. So then he's banging on the window going, help,
It's like
help.
Bambi.
This is good. We like that builder's yard office is ripe for drama and stunt potential. It's kind of compared to the other buildings on the street, that has managed to come off massively unscathed over the years, hasn't it? Like Rovers has had fires over the years, cabins had a tram crash into it, shops been blown up. Maybe streetcars has been done alright. I don't know. Maybe that's next. But
Yeah,
considering it's made
set
of
street-
wood,
Streetcars on fire.
that builder's yard.
Somebody's been murdered there.
Yeah, Tina did meet her maker outside there, but
Michael
I
got
don't
pushed
count
down the
that.
stairs. Pat got taken hostage and in there, kidnapped and held.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's
in-
been a
in the-
few things, but
the
fire's
spacious
long
under-
overdue.
Yes, I thought it was good. I was I thought that the scenes were done well. It was really. I thought they were well
Proper fire,
directed.
proper
It was
fire.
proper fire.
It wasn't just a tissue in front of a camera.
Honestly,
The flames
do you
on it.
remember? Do you remember, listeners? I know Gemma remembers this.
I do.
The speed dial fire. Was it last year? Was it the year before? When it was literally just somebody holding some flames up to the camera as Stu goes, "Oh no, it's on
no."
fire, man!" This was good. I didn't get the same level
no
as
peril.
There was peril. He was banging on the doors. He was trapped in
No,
there.
we knew he wasn't going to die. I said, imagine how cool it would be if Michael died. I don't want Michael to die. I love the character. I know he's not super popular. I really like the actor. I really like the character. I think he's good. There's a lot of potential there, and I enjoy watching him. I think he's a nice person. But it's just like, imagine if just out of nowhere they just killed Michael off in a fire. They wouldn't do it though, would they? So I wasn't worried.
This is why I kind of wish that Corrie was a bit more like Games of Thrones in that respect, because with Game of Thrones, and I know that their shtick was people are
No
going to be
one's
dying all the
safe.
time, but you tune into an episode of that and literally anybody could die, so any peril anyone gets in, you are seriously thinking, hang on a minute, are they about to kill off
exactly.
this character?
Yep.
But with Coronation Street, characters seem to get in just as much peril. Okay, so
Yep.
maybe it's not exactly the same level of, people with an army stampeding down towards you, or you're going to get thrown off the barracks
Or
of
a
a
dragon's
castle,
gonna
or
eat you.
dragon's going to eat you. Exactly. But there's so much peril that Corrie characters get into, and you're like, they're
They'll
going to be fine. They're going to be fine.
considering the
'Cause
size of the cast
so
as well.
rarely, yeah, exactly. So rarely does somebody actually get killed off or leave unexpectedly. And we try to avoid spoilers. We find it very difficult to, especially when it comes with that. But
you shouldn't be you shouldn't have a character who's, I'm going to say, I love him, but he's not a major character in mortal danger on a Friday episode. You shouldn't have your audience being like, how's he going to... Well, he's obviously not going to die, so what's going to happen?
And
you should be thinking, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also like, well, it's not Super Soap Week, or it's not Britain's Got Talent Week.
Yeah.
If it was, maybe they could be surprising. They could be saving a surprise death, and that's one of the problems with there being these key points in the year when anything could happen, or who's going to die. Other times in the year, you're thinking, oh no, it's all right. It's just a Friday in January.
Drama.
He's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I wish they could do. I wish they could do something to stop that, because, like I said, it was well filmed. It was nicely directed. The fire was very realistic looking. It looked kind of perilous, but I was just there thinking, it's going to be fine, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, he's trying to get out of the office, but he can't break the glass because it's reinforced. You can't go down the stairs because they're on fire.
Ed comes
and I
back.
did wonder when I was watching it, like, why is everything on fire? Why is everything on fire all at once? But we find out why in a minute.
Yes, Ed comes back and Damon's there saying, "There's
a fire,"
and unfortunately you can't get up through the normal steps. Don't worry, a new pair of steps has miraculously appeared by the side of the yard that you can climb up. And Ed's like, thank God for that.
That really annoyed me. Why build an extension on a set that didn't exist for the purpose of...
It didn't bother me as much, and that's the sort of thing that would normally really wind me up, that there was usually no stairs there, and now for the purpose of this there are stairs. That should really irk me, but I think it's because it's the Builder's Yard set, and it's one that we never really see much of anyway. I don't know where everything is, and I think it's quite easy to make people think that those steps have been there all along. But you didn't... I
was mad about it because I said it was pointless. I thought maybe... I don't know, maybe the actor who plays Ed couldn't go up a ladder or something, so they had to have him rescue him with stairs, but I just don't believe there was no way of doing it except for to build an extension.
You were saying to me yesterday that it's, akin to... Well, it's a bit of a Deus Ex Machina kind of thing, isn't it? Of, we can't think of a way that they could get out of this, so let's just make one up. And I totally
really
get that, but...
They couldn't have
For
thought
some
of
reason,
anything
in
else.
this instance, it didn't bother me.
There was nothing about the situation that required them to build stairs. They could have thought of a different way of doing this. It just really wound me up.
I don't know. I'm sure they did try hard to
they
think of one.
desecrated Seb's garden.
Yeah. So anyway, Ed goes in there. He rescues Michael in his smoke and his coffin and bring him down on the... Michael's like...
Ed's like, my chips are on the floor now. I hope you appreciate this.
He does do a chip chuck, doesn't he? A Pat Phelan.
No, he drops it. He doesn't chuck it. He should have chucked it. More dramatic.
Anyway, Michael's like having a massive panic attack on the floor when he gets down there, isn't he?
That's what it looked like to me.
Looked like he was... I'm not saying he's overreacting because I've never been in a fire.
I'd be a bit worried if I nearly caught on fire.
I don't know. Dee Dee and Joel are there later, and Dee Dee's like, I can't believe you were going to sleep there, Dad. Ed, thank goodness, is chuffed that Michael wants him to go to the hospital. They have now made up, and it's only taken a near-death experience for Michael to realise, actually, I love you, Dad, after all. So, nice. Meanwhile, though...
Well, they both rescued each other, didn't they? Because Michael went in to rescue his dad, and then he ended up getting rescued by his dad.
Yeah. Ooh, they never mention it again. No. I think his gambling is cured now.
Well, no, maybe I would be like, I diced with death and I won. I'm lucky. I'm feeling lucky today. I'm going to go down the cookies.
One lucky day. Yeah, I guess that now that the Builder's Yard has, I guess, been totaled, he's got nothing to sell anymore. But does he get insurance money? Well, this is what it comes into, isn't it? Because the fire officer is there telling Craig, again, only officer in Weatherfield, that the whole place reeks of white spirits. This was clearly an insurance job.
Arson.
Yeah,
arson
exactly. Arsing around that Ed Bailey.
And that's why everything was on fire.
So Craig goes to the hospital later
to see how
they're doing, and they hear about...
he's like, how do you guys know why everything was suddenly on fire from
nowhere?
That's
right, yeah.
And Ed's like, well, I did put an industrial heater
an electric
on,
heater,
and then I walked off and left it.
Then we got that.
So either way, really, it's his fault.
Yeah, basically. But did he do it on purpose? But Craig shares the suspicion with DS Wayne, and this was a funny scene, wasn't it?
Great.
She's like,
can't be bothered. Leave me alone.
She's like, it's Friday night. I know it's Wednesday, really, but it's supposed to be Friday. I don't need you to share this with me,
and he
Craig.
was all like shy, and he's like, I don't know if I should say this, but I live...
Spit it out, you imbecile.
I live up the same road as the Baileys, and I know that Ed's got real bad gambling debts, and she's like, oh, so do you think it was an insurance shop? He's like, oh, maybe. It's like, you grass.
He's a total grass. He's a grass. Bernie's a grass.
Yep.
Liam's not a grass. It was Jake, wasn't it? I can't remember how that started. I don't think. No, yeah. Liam did no ratting.
Everybody should bully Craig.
Yeah,
I think Mason should bully Craig.
I think that is very bad form, Craig. You're only doing your job, I know. But seriously,
well, look what happened to Emma.
You're useless at all other crime solvings. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he kept the secret about Emma, didn't he?
What?
He didn't about her.
Who's he?
Craig. He didn't dob her in for running over old Ted.
Gosh, I wasn't even talking about that.
Oh, weren't you?
I was talking about Emma, the police officer.
Oh, yes.
He got into trouble with her own, what should I say about this?
No, I was
don't get involved. And also Kirsty, too. She was a police officer.
Yes.
She got involved in her neighbours' affairs, and it all went downhill.
And this is why...
Don't be a
police officer in the place that you live.
No, don't.
That's why it doesn't happen in real life. But anyway, that's Ed at the end of the episode is kind of hopeful for the future.
He's like,
nothing can go wrong now. Is this when he's on the phone to Aggie? I can't remember. Or is that?
He does tell Aggie about what happened.
Yeah, I can't remember whether this was here or some other time. But anyway, Ed's like, nothing can go wrong. Little does he know that he's about to get another knock on the door next week, being accused of insurance fraud. So there we go. I think we've kind of said everything we had to say about this. It was all right. I liked the fire. Yeah, good, fairly good stuff. Not as good as the Paul story, but I didn't hate this.
I did like this. It's nice to have a fire.
Shame about the low stakes. Shame that we had yet another hospital scene. We had Liam in the hospital on Monday. We had, who was it last week in the hospital? It's gone out. Oh, Ardy with the CO2.
Why do everyone in hospital all
now
the
we
time?
got Michael in the hospital.
Get rid of the hospital set. Get rid of the prison set.
I think that they need to be really brave. They need to be really brave and get rid of those sets. Put something else in.
Yeah, think of something else.
And then just restrict yourself. Say, if we get rid of this hospital set, that means we can't do this sort of story. And this is the sort of story that people are saying they're sick of.
We don't care. I can't.
That's my first move as producer.
Get rid of that set. Get rid of the prison set. Get rid of the court set.
Yeah.
You went years on Coronation Street without any of that stuff.
That's the thing. They did. They went 40 years or more without having to have constant visits to these places. And if they did want to go, then they go to a real one, and it looked so much more realistic.
Well, the thing is that you wouldn't get this. The amount of hospital they go, it's like it might as well be following the residents of a care home.
Yeah, I know.
That would make sense if they were always in hospital, but no, these are all totally healthy people, just always in hospital or prison.
This all ties in with the spiral of disaster, doesn't it? Like, got to have drama, got to have something for people to talk about. Let's put somebody in a near-death experience, but we won't kill them because we don't want to kill the characters. Anyway, we're not saying anything that nobody said before. Size of Souse, Gemma.
Size of Souse.
Tell us about old Boozy Barlow here.
Size of Souse. On Monday. Oh, I've just nearly said who's Bobby then, because for a brief, blissful moment, I forgot he existed. But how could I?
He's Simon's new best mate now.
Tell you what, they deserve each other, don't they?
Yeah.
What a pair of unpleasant arseholes they are.
Simon's not. I got a bit of love for Simon. And I'm liking him more and more the more irritated he's being of Bobby.
It's quite funny to see somebody else as annoyed with Bobby as we all are at home.
It is making me think though, like, is this purposeful annoyance?
Maybe he kills him.
Are we supposed to? Anyway, I don't want to rag on Bobby.
Right, Bobby is in a bad mood, and they all work together as well, because everyone loves factory scenes where nobody does any stitching. Although they did actually have the machines out this week.
They did, yeah.
Simon offers to buy Carla an apology drink for
not turning up at work on time. Was that it? I don't remember.
Carla says, "Why don't you take Bobby out for team bonding?" And
Bobby's like, "Hey, that sounds like a good idea." And Simon's
like,
gosh, I don't
want to be friends with this idiot.
Yeah.
Right. So they go to. Do they go to the bistro or do they go to the? Oh yeah, this is the bistro scene.
Yeah.
I forgot because they also have a pub scene later.
Yeah.
So diverse. Bobby's just winding Simon up, and they're asking him about, has he got a girlfriend? Then Sabrina and Lauren come in, and Bobby's like, "Oh, why don't you guys come over and have a drink with us?" And he's trying to flirt with Lauren and wants her number. And she says, no, sorry, I'm not long out of a relationship. And then Simon starts asking Sabrina why she's going out with that racist loser Max. They both get really offended and leave.
Bobby here. What
He's
the
a
hell?
pervert. Is it supposed to be charming? Because it's not.
It is.
It's creepy and weird.
I think we're supposed to go, oh, good for him for trying. Yeah, he's a lad. Yeah, it really is coming across as like creepy. You massive creep.
Perv.
She's not interested.
Yeah, because later on...
Yes, he's confident and...
He asks for Lauren's number and she says no. Then on Tuesday, Bobby starts asking Max for Lauren's phone number. Like, no. You're being a bit... No. Just don't. It's not
We're
funny,
supposed to think it's charming because we're supposed to think, well, too right. Just because he's differently abled, no reason why he can't go after the girls as well. But whatever able he is, he's.
I do think there's an element of like you're supposed to think it's more acceptable, and I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. I think any being creepy and harassing somebody and asking for their number and trying to get hold of their number, it doesn't matter who you are. It's just creepy and weird, and it makes me mad about this character in a way that I don't think they want me to.
And he's clearly play. His thing is, I play on my illness, because like there was the scene which I kind of thought was a little bit funny, to be honest. Later in the week where he tries to get Daisy to bring them a drink at the pub, doesn't he? And so he knows that he's
playing on it, and it's supposed to make
condition can make anybody do whatever he wants, and he loves that.
It just comes a lot off as manipulative, and it's only kind of, I don't know. It feels like it only endears you to him if you don't know any disabled people in your real life, because if everybody acted like this, it wouldn't be so cute, would it?
It's
do you know what I mean?
Cute.
Like,
it is not cute.
I'm
enjoying that not every line that he says is a joke anymore. They have toned that down a little bit, but then they're not making him any better in any other ways.
But this is what I said before about relying on the humour about I'm disabled. I know this is probably really bad to say, but I just don't think it's a good representation for people who are disabled, because not everybody wants to make fun of themselves in the same way or be a figure of fun or a joke.
Yeah, and people who do have problems and they need help, they don't want people to think, well, if you're just like that guy on the TV, I don't really believe you. Why should I help you? You're just trying to pull a fast one.
Empowering about joking, and we've seen this with Paul. It worked really well with Paul and what's her name? Who died? Shelley. They did a really good job of the dark humour that they used and the jokes that they made about the situation they were in. But with Bobby, it just comes across as really obnoxious.
Paul's not using it to get something out of somebody he doesn't really know very well, who has shown that they don't want to give them that thing. Paul was just like saying, oh yeah, well, you know.
It's really incel behaviour to act entitled to a woman's affections and attention for any reason whatsoever. I just found this was just a real bad move.
Paul's kind of doing it with mates who love him and know his situation, and he knows that they'll have a laugh with him about it. But Bobby thinks that people will have a laugh with him about it.
I don't want to. Yeah, it's difficult because, like I said before, in a show with not very many characters who have the same circumstances, you become the poster child for that. So, at the moment we've got 3 wheelchair users, don't we? We've got Izzy, we've got Paul, and we've got Bobby, even though he's not wheelchair, but he uses some.
He's on wheels.
So from that perspective, you come a bit of a break here, because it's not like Bobby's the only disabled person on the show. But he's just not. I just find it really uncomfortable, actually.
Yeah.
That I'm expected to give him a pass. I find it a bit patronising, actually. Anyway, sorry if that's controversial, and I know that
I don't think it's controversial to not really be enjoying Bobby at the moment.
No, not that, but the reasons why I'm saying it perhaps are, and I apologise if anyone is offended, but that's just how I feel about it. As a woman who is fed up with men being entitled to attention from women, Anyway, so Bobby's like, give me the phone number. Max goes over to Simon and they're mad at each other because Max is not very happy about the fact that Simon was making eyes at Sabrina.
No, that's not actually what it was. I wrote down what it was, but I don't think.
Why is Max mad then?
Max is mad because he told Sabrina, "You're going out with a racist idiot." I think that's what it was.
Simon said that.
Yeah.
It's about time somebody pointed it out. Carla comes and says, "Everyone shut up," and Simon, buck your ideas up. Why should he hire all these idiots? Right, so they all go to the Rovers after work, and Bobby's still trying to make moves on Lauren.
Well, he says, "I'm not giving up yet. I'll get her. I'll win her for heart."
This is not a rom-com from 1994. Okay, this is current year. Later on, Simon is moaning about Bobby to Glenda, and she's like, "Oh, he's all right."
Yeah, she finds him amusing at least.
It's because she doesn't know him.
He's not tried to badger her for her phone number yet.
Yeah, but if she should go, ha 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 ha. Anyway, next morning, Simon.
Yes, it is next morning, isn't it?
Simon wakes up. Carla's phoning him. Why is he not at work? He says he's feeling rough and he's got the flu.
No, he's not. He's not. He's going to go out. Well,
he's got some friends.
He's just hung over, isn't he, from his last pub trip? But then his mate Ken's rings up, and
do you think it's really Ken?
Yeah, probably.
But he's having a post midlife crisis where he's spelling his name with a Z.
And yeah, they're going to go to a bar later for more booze time.
So on Wednesday, he can't really get his story straight about why he didn't even come to work, because he obviously was ill, but then he went out anyway. And Carla says, "You better not be messing me around." So Bobby finds Simon in the pub, and Simon tells him, for some reason, that he went on a pub crawl yesterday and now he's hungover again. And Bobby's really impressed, and this is when he gets Daisy to bring him a drink. Sally and Beth are not happy to see Simon and Bobby come in from lunch 10 minutes late, and the fact that Carla's not having a go at them. And they're totally right to call this out. This is just nepotism. Everyone hates nepotism, don't we? So later on, Carla asks Simon, because Kirk's hurt his foot. I don't know what he dropped on it.
I don't know what he's
done. A dictionary or something. And she says to Simon, "Right, you got to drive the van now because Kirk can't." And he says, "No, I'm not doing it." And she tries to push, and he won't go.
Is this because he's
had two drinks for lunch, and he can't say that he's had 2 drinks? My question is, why can't you say you've had 2 drinks? Everyone goes to the pub in this show and has drinks at lunchtime. Just say, "I had drinks at lunch, I'm not driving."
And he's not operating heavy machinery at the factory, is he?
I don't think it matters. Everybody's always drunk there. so apart from Kirk. So he just point blank refuses. She gets mad and tries to push. He says, "You can't tell me what to do like you did my dad. Push me around." And so she says, "Right, that's it, you're fired." So he goes home to Leanne and whines at her about it. And she's like, "Oh,
I haven't had a good an excuse for a strop for many a month.
I'm going to go and martyr myself up." He clops into the factory, has it out with Carla. He's like, "Hang on a minute. What's he told you?" The reason he couldn't drive is because he's been drinking all the time. So Leanne goes back with a tail between her legs and talks to Simon about this and says, "Listen, you've got to really lay off this. You're drinking too much. It's becoming a problem." Then Bobby comes round and says, "Come to a 2-for-1 cocktail evening with me."
Simon turns him down, but
says, "No,
he'd rather do lone drinking, doesn't he? He's got some cans later.
He goes and gets a load of bag of booze and sits on the sofa all alone, trying to get in touch with his dad, who's like, "I'm sorry, I'm out of contract. I can't
come back, can't speak on the phone to you at the moment." Yeah, and he has a bit of a sad time. I do feel a bit bad for him. He's been
Simon, nobody gives a crap about him.
No, nobody does. Nobody will involve him in all their stories and drama. He's been cast aside all these years. His dad has been pretty terrible for his whole life, and now he's just abandoned him.
And I mean, from a point of view of like self-esteem and everything, he's been given a stupid job by his dad's girlfriend, and he clearly doesn't care about it, and he's only there because of that relationship.
Yeah, well, he's a character who's like, well, he's got to have a job. It's got to be on the street. I guess it's going to be there. He doesn't seem suited.
He doesn't
to that
seem
place
suited to
in
it.
the
I doubt
slightest.
he's good at it.
Carla just collects the people who can't work in a shop or anywhere else.
A food place.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see, I can see he's directionless, isn't he? He's a young man with nothing to do.
Yeah, and
no
I think in
one
many
to care
ways
about him.
it's quite a
It's realistic. I think this is
realistic.
actually really realistic, and I think Simon's the sort of person this would make sense with. He hasn't got a girlfriend. He doesn't have any real friends.
He's never had a girlfriend, has he?
He's just got a really.
He's got a
sad
mega
back.
sad existence.
He really does.
Yeah, and now he's got Bobby latching onto him just to make matters worse.
Yeah,
I hope that we do see
I don't know where this is going.
Some nice things happen for Simon. I feel bad for him.
This is quite.
I don't know whether I still haven't decided whether I like the idea of him becoming an alcoholic, because in some ways he thinks, well, yeah, maybe people in his situation do turn to booze because what else can life offer them? But then on the other hand, you would think, oh, hang on a minute, after he's seen what it's done to his dad, would that really happen? And I know they're putting it in as a story like, oh, like father like son, but I would think that maybe Simon
become an alcoholic.
Oh yeah, I know, but I just think that Simon might think twice
if
about
only
it,
that,
having seen what
if only
happened.
humans were that logical, Michael.
I know.
There'd be no such thing as the cycle of abuse, for example. Yeah. It totally makes sense. He's had this behaviour modelled to him. The thing about humans is we're not logical, are we? Like he's not obviously absorbed a lot of the things that have happened.
I'm really kind of I'm championing Simon here. I'm hoping that he's obviously going to sink lower before he goes up, but I hope that he ends this on a high.
He'll go back up again. I don't know.
I hope he ends this on a high.
The biggest revelation of the week was that Bobby is named after Bobby Ewing.
Oh yeah, he did, doesn't he?
Rather than being named after his father Robert.
That was yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. It's another.
Surely he was named after his dad. Can't be a coincidence.
He must be lying. Maybe it's going to be a running joke, and he says he's named after Bobby Davray next.
Well, I wonder whether he's going to be the sort of character who does make up these funny stories. Like, a bit of a Mary. It's like, you can't believe anything this character says, and then you turn into like Mary's turned into a bit of a joke. Like anything she says, I just kind of switch off. I think this isn't telling me about her character. It's just something that the writer thinks is funny, and there's worry that's going to happen with Bobby. I'm really sorry to all the Bobby lovers out there.
Let's stop him being a sex pest, please. It's not funny or cute.
It's
just patronising.
It's not working for me. Right, so finally then, we got the start of the Tracy storyline that was teased to us on Christmas Day, but Tommy Orpington is back. He's a decorator, and he's going to be sorting out the decorating. He's going to be taking a look at Tracy's bedroom ceiling, and probably in more ways than one.
He's going to be there for a week, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because although it's going to be 3 days, he said his rate is £200.
Yeah.
The bill is £800, and it said that the day rate was by far the biggest expense on the invoice.
Interesting stuff.
My maths there, I'm just working out.
So
do I want to become a decorator for £200 a day?
We have heard.
Maybe.
We have heard that there's trouble afoot at number one, and Steve and Tracy have been having these terrible marital problems that we have seen nothing of, aside from 1 or 2 scenes.
Steve turns to camera and says, Tracy and I are having problems.
Yeah, just a little bit for establishing, a bit of a prologue to this.
And Tracy says, yes, indeed we are.
So it's her birthday on Tuesday, and also Izzy's birthday, and she's been bought a cherry stone pillow.
Don't tell Linda, she don't care.
No, yeah, Linda wasn't even in this episode. She disappears back off to Portugal on Monday, doesn't she? I thought that. I don't know. Maybe she just wasn't in it anymore. No, maybe you're right. She hasn't.
It's like, Izzy, I remember that mistake.
She's like, it's Izzy's birthday tomorrow. I better get back home.
Get her a fridge.
Yeah. So anyway, Steve's got this cherry stone pillow, that was kind of a funny scene. Just with Ken's reaction, like, I'll have it.
Thanks very much.
They're quite good. Thank you. Better than the train set that I got for my birthday last year.
Maybe Steve bought her this because she's been leaving bunches of magazines about cherry stone pillows.
Exactly. Explains it all.
She's not happy about this.
She's not happy, and we just get the old Steve, you're useless. We need decorating, establishing dialogue. just so that we can get on with Tommy Orpington.
Why can't they
round.
show us these stains?
Yeah, that's show don't tell. Come on. Anyway, Mary tells Tracy, "Look, you need to get an actual decorator in. You're asking Steve to do it, but he's a waste of space. Get a professional in." And she goes
like,
home, and
do I
Tracy
know
and
any
Steve is
professionals?
being pretty useless. So she's like, right, I'm gonna get in.
I'm
a
just
guy.
constantly astonished by these women who have these men around that can do these things. So lucky for them.
I know, like.
They like get your
There's
husband
characters
to do it.
that are a bit
What?
useless.
You can get your husband to what? Put shelves up and paint things.
There are so many,
fix things.
so many guys on
What?
this that they're just like, yeah, of course I'll do that, but that's never even an option in this house,
No,
is
not
it?
at all.
Anything practical at all? Get Michael to do it.
Get Michael to phone a man.
I've had
That's
some
what we
shelves
do.
delivered in the post in the last few weeks, and I'm thinking we probably do need to get a man to get
Yes,
those
we do.
to get those up on the wall.
Well, we already had a man to put the other shelves up.
I know. I just can't
And
do
the other
anything
shelves
like
up.
that. I'm useless. Anyway.
It's all right. You earned the big
It
bucks
is also-
to cover the costs,
Oh
don't
yeah,
you?
yeah, 6.5%. That was this year. It turns out, very handily for Tracy's upcoming story, that Emma, not Emma the police officer,
No.
but Emma, Steve's daughter, is going to be visiting Paris. Just pop into Paris from Australia,
Don't do
as
it.
you do, and he wants to go and see her because it's been a whole year since she's been in the programme, and he wouldn't want to miss out on the chance.
Why would you go to Paris?
So, the Wednesday's episode, he walks into the room and the decorator is Tommy Orpington.
What?
Yeah, he's talking to Tracy, who still unbelievably doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, but Michael, if because you watch your videos, you have podcasters that you watch videos of on YouTube, right?
Yes.
If one of them was a decorator and came to our house and was decorating our house, I wouldn't even go, I think I recognise your face, unless it was the one that's a Muppet. I know it was him.
Yeah, but the thing is, and this was shown in this episode by the childish Tim and Stephen Kev scene later. They're always Tommy O. He's literally
The only person
Tommy. I can't remember. He
That
literally
really
had
wound me up. That
two
scene.
songs about Tommy Orpington. There's only one Tommy.
When
Yeah,
Tracy
Tracy
came in the
doesn't
room,
know who this guy is.
When Tracy came to the room and Steve had to sing the Tommy Orpington song louder and louder 3 times in a row and wouldn't listen to what she was saying, I wanted her to kill him. Why doesn't she kill Steve? She's already killed Owen.
Yeah, she's
Not Owen. Who was it?
Charlie.
Sorry, yeah. He already killed one guy. Why is Steve so relaxed around this woman who he knows would kill him at the drop of a hat?
This story, for me, is just showing...
a bit
It's the
stupid.
epitome of everything that's gone wrong with Steve over the last 10 years. He's just gobsmacked in the presence of this legend. And, maybe you would be, but then you'd be like... Oh, he's just going to the pub, and him and Tim and
doesn't make
Kevin
sense.
all just being like
This guy
teenagers
that
around
commands
this guy.
such adoration from these fellow men, yeah? How come he's fallen so far from grace that all he can do is get charged £100 a day for clean? Like, he could sell these men, he could sell them, like, spend a day with Tommy O, he could 200 quid a time.
Yeah.
He could do it all at once. The whole day, he earn hundreds of quid from these idiots. And they can't be the only idiots that worship the ground he walks on. How has he managed to get himself in a situation where, even though he's got a massive fan base of raving fans, he can't monetize it?
I guess that I just can't... I can't relate to somebody who is that speechless and gaga over a famous person.
Yeah.
But I know lots of people are.
But
I don't think they're like pushing 50. The people who are like that with famous people, he just comes across as such a
I think
simpleton.
young people are more impressed.
Yeah,
And
that's
I don't
fine.
wanna be-
that's
normal.
We've probably got lots of listeners who
would love us to be decorating their
if
house.
Kate Ford walked in...
No, but we could decorate their house and they would be like, wow!
Yeah. And you know what? I think if I turned up to decorate anywhere, you'd be like, "What, Michael?
Wow, that's amazing!
You don't know how to paint."
I'm going to write a song about you.
But yeah, so I've got no problem really, but with
Again, it's supposed to be endearing, but it just comes across completely.
Yeah, he just comes across
nonsensical.
And it's like Kirk. He was there as well, wasn't he? Kirk, I forgot. And it just reminds us that they're just
Tim, Steve.
Yeah. They're a
Oh,
couple of
there's no
goals
perspective,
short of a
is there?
pitch.
Like, what are you doing?
No, they're really.
And then they talk-
Tracy's there, kind of rolling her eyes at her.
We find out
At
because
them,
of
I
Kirk's connections from his Buzz of the
Buzz
Bee
of the Bee
days,
days, yeah.
that Tommy O's had a divorce, so he's single.
Yes, he is.
And he
Thanks
needs-
for getting that into the script. God, what could be happening here?
He needs
What could this be leading to?
money, I guess, because everyone's like, oh, shouldn't he be living in Cheshire and being on Real Housewives of Cheshire or whatever? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense that the only thing he can think of to do with his skills and fan base is to paint.
Well, he's got to
Tracy's
take advantage
bedroom.
of that height somehow, hasn't he? I was kind of a bit
I'm
gutted.
sure this happens. I know this happens because every so often you get a story in the papers like, oh my god, this ex-Corrie legend, ex-TV star, ex-EastEnders stars, oh, he's working in a card shop. Oh, look at this, how
Oh
terrible.
yeah, you do. You totally do.
All the time. This is just what it's like, I guess, but would you really be in that situation when you had people that literally would
I don't know.
lie
I
in a
don't
puddle?
know.
So you
Maybe
get
this
your
is very
feet wet.
realistic, but it doesn't mean I enjoy watching it. I quite enjoyed Tommy. Like, surprisingly, the scenes that he was with Tracy, I thought that the actor was like, because considering that
I know.
he's been a bit part.
He's been in
He's
it for
been the
ages.
sort of characters where they don't need to employ the creme de la creme of acting talent, so I never really considered anything about him. But actually, I thought he did a pretty good job with Kate Ford.
I am quite interested. I feel like a bit bad because I was initially thinking, why the hell do we want Tommy Orpington?
So was I,
like-
and now I'm like, oh yeah, let's see.
It's nothing. Yeah, again, it's no bad reflection on him as an actor because he's never had a chance.
He's literally, I think
do
it was like,
anything.
2016 or so, his first, so it's like 8 years he's been on and off Coronation Street.
But they
He must be
talked
so
about
chuffed
him
that-
before he turned up. I'm sure they did.
I know, I don't remember.
But he did have a few scenes when James was supposed to be having that meeting with him. Do you remember?
I thought that he was a bit of a baddie last.
Yes, he was.
I thought he was chumming up with Corey Brent. I think I
Yeah,
said
he
last
was.
week.
He
but
wasn't. He wasn't a
anyway.
good guy.
We
the last
know
time saw
little.
him.
We know as little about him that it doesn't really matter. But yes,
How-
clearly,
What will
clearly,
happen now?
I hope it's good. Like, Kate Ford is such a great actress, and she Tracy in the past has been wonderful, and she's been sneaky and manipulative and horrible and violent, and she has been. There's been periods where Tracy has been like the face of Corrie, where she's been the top woman of Corrie, and just the last few years, nothing. So I'd like to hope that this storyline does have a bit more depth to it than like for hubba, let's hide in the closet
Let's
of thing.
Let's do Courtney and Ardy redux
Yeah.
where we say this is steamy and hot, and I hope that you don't have your own opinion about
I
it.
hope that they don't make that. I'd love for that part of this story not to be comedy. I don't want a comedy affair.
Comedy romp.
I'd like to see some like dialogue or something. I don't know whether I'm asking for too
Honestly,
much here.
there's a lot of potential here. It's not the sort of story I really want. I'd never go great an affair story. Some
Yeah,
people do,
but
I guess. Some people must love them.
Yeah,
But
I mean, there's been a fair few recently, so not
I am
surprised if
warming
anyone's.
to the idea.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think-
surprising myself.
Tracy should kill Steve though.
I just think that Tracy knew what she was signing up for when she married Steve. He is no different now than he was when she married him. And we were fighting for Tracy and Steve to get back together, because I know a lot of Corrie people, when they got married, or Corrie fans, were saying, no, they're useless. Tracy has been so horrible to Steve over the years. Look at all the things that she's done. Why would he be interested in her? And we were saying, I can buy that they were teenage. She's loved him since they were teenagers together. I think they feel like they belong together, a bit like Nick and Leanne. It just kind of fits, even though they're not really right for each other. But I would say, definitely say to Tracy, in these circumstances, you knew Steve. He's not changed in the slightest. You can't change a man. You're old enough to know that by this point.
You can't change a man, but you can kill him.
Don't have
Just
an
an
affair.
idea. I
I
think it would be really nice to see Tracy get treated nicely for once.
They're gonna. Yeah.
But is he going to turn out to be a cad?
I really hope that we get to see a lot of her.
Is he going to break her heart?
She has been...
If Tommy breaks her heart, I'm going to have to,
Well, she's going to get back with Steve by the end of the year, isn't she?
Has Steve just been atrocious,
no way,
hasn't he?
not a chance that Steve and Tracy will be split up by the end of this year. I'm putting that out there.
Is this going to be a comedy storyline, or is this going to be a serious one? Because we know Steve is going to Paris, isn't he?
Yeah. The thing that I'm most worried about this story is just what Steve's going to be like when he gets back. Like, what's his reaction going to be? Is it going to be a believable, or is he going to be, hey, you've been sleeping with my wife, and then he's going to do something to make him stupid? You know, I can just picture him. And then with his gurn face, and Tommy kind of looking down at him, thinking you utter pillock. It's brave to have this kind of move with Steve, even though back in the day Simon Gregson would have been absolutely perfect for this. He's had so many brilliant dramatic moments, and maybe this is going to be a return to old school Steve and Simon Gregson showing that he can do it.
He can do it.
The character has just.
I worry in much the same
much.
way that like some female actresses, not mentioning anyone in Corrie, just in general, perhaps might Botox themselves to the point at which they can't make an expression.
Nobody in Corrie has ever had any kind of enhancement
has Simon Gregson
surgery.
Gurned so much as Steve that now his face can't make a different expression?
Well, maybe he just was gurning when the wind changed one day.
Perhaps. Maybe he needs
Didn't this ever tell you, Steve?
Go stand down in Media City and you'll get some wind changing. You can then fix yourself.
Right. So this week's Corrie was
potential of that. But, you know.
Also definite, concerns. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. It's new.
And concerns.
It's a new story, whereas lots of everything else that's going on at the moment feels like a continuation of things that have been happening for a while.
Well, the Simon stuff's a development, isn't it?
It's a development-ish, yeah. The Paul stuff's been going on for ages. The Liam storyline's been going on forever. The Baileys have. There's been lots of long-running stories, so it's nice to see a new one with character that we haven't seen much of.
It's not an issue, is it?
You're right. It's
brilliant.
not, I don't think we're going to learn anything from that.
I don't want to learn anything. I don't want to know about the plight of ex-footballers who have to become plaster decorators to earn a coin. I don't want to learn about infidelity in relationships and what
just
it's
want a bit
like
of sneaking about and a bit of Tracy being treated nicely because she deserves it.
I don't want to know about the Paris syndrome. I don't want to know about any of it.
So anyway, mixed bag for Corrie this week. Definitely better than last week. Which was just like I just couldn't be dealing with last week's Corrie. Loved all the stuff with the camper van. Jane Hazelgrove again, what a star. Peter Ash, brilliant. Dolly bringing up the rear. Just loved that stuff. I loved I thought the fire was nice.
Like a nice fire.
There were, and there's potential with this. So not an amazing week, but still, I'm going to give fairly decent. I'm going to give this 3.5 twanged backs out of 5.
Very nice.
Not a bad job at all, Corrie.
I'm going to give this week 3. 3 documentaries about Gandhi and Jack the Ripper, because that's also
bet you were well into that.
Subject,
you could do a podcast with Sally about that.
Yeah, I definitely could, because I've got a special. Everyone knows, if you listen to this podcast, you know I've got a very special affinity with Gandhi because we were both
born on the 2nd of October. Yeah.
We both have the similar personalities. Although I do sleep with fewer naked young women than he did, and I also love Jack the Ripper.
Perfect.
Both my heroes.
Character of the week this week.
Are they the same person? I'm going to say no.
Yeah, we're not getting into that. We're now T-minus 55 minutes until the Traitors is on. Hard one for character of the week. I don't know whether there's any major standouts. Maybe Bernie again, just for being a lovely, understanding mum.
Can I give it to Gandhi?
No, you cannot give it to Gandhi.
All right, just check in. I've got to check these things.
Who are you giving it to? Come on.
Mrs. Crawshaw.
No, you can't give it to Mrs. Crawshaw. You do not think it was Mrs. Crawshaw.
D.S. Swain.
No, she was also not a main character this
government
week.
Cutbacks. I don't know. It's not Bobby. It's never Bobby. It will never be Bobby.
Is it Paul? Is it Gemma?
I honestly hope for the day that Bobby gets character of the week. I really, despite everything I've said about him this week, and
Every
how
week
much
we
I
have also said we
dislike
want
him,
to like Poppy.
I am waiting and I'm wishing and hoping for the week when I can genuinely give him character of the week, because I want all the best for him, but also want him to stop thinking with his penis.
Is it Billy? Is it Moses? Is it
I'm
Pete?
going to give it to Bernie for the
Bernie.
Nettles.
Double Bernie. Nice.